Okay, haha. Right, I think this should now work. I think. Just gotta wait for it to appear on my channel and then I can double check all the volumes and stuff. Here we go, yay. Yes. Alright, cool. So I figured out how to fade myself. There's a filter, and you go to Effect Filters in OBS, Chroma key, and then you can get rid of my ugly face ever so slightly. And I think that's probably going to be enough. Sorry for the last episode, but I think I did watch through it again. I think it's okay. Maybe you can get more information from being able to see this screen this time. But let's start with opening up UProject. If you go right click on this .uproject file, which is found in the Riverside project, Riveride project. Am I doing all this right? Yeah, I am. Okay. And then you can go open with, and you can go and find Unreal Engine in this list, and you can like add it or set as default. Okay. And now when you double click on it or open it, it'll actually load the UProject file, but it will not start the debugger. I think you can probably also do debug start without debugging. So debug start without debugging. That probably also works. I haven't tried it, so I'm pretty sure that would work actually. So I'll do it next time. Okay, cool. So I don't know what that is. So we're back in our level, and this is what we did before we left. And this is going to be the little pickups that that you can so we're on a boat. We're going to be able to shift left and right. We're going to be able to pick those coconuts up when they're close to us. Um, so first things first is we need to get a way of colliding our mouse with this these sets of pickups. And the way we'll do that is there's a couple of things that you have to kind of turn on inside a default class. I actually can't remember what they are. So what I'm going to do is I'll just grab them from other projects that I've worked on, and then I'll go to Google as well, which I think is a nice way of following how I would go about finding out how to do this. Bear with me though, because I have to go and find a bloody project. Which one do I click on? Let me see. None of these. Bear with me. You know what? Actually, maybe we'll just do this. So enable click collision in Unreal Engine. I'm sure it's written here quite clearly. By pressing a button. No, okay, enable mouse click events Unreal Engine C++. These are the kind of things I search for, you see. Here we go, OnClick not working in C++, okay. And these are the ones, right, okay, yes. So essentially, there are a couple of things that you have to turn on to enable your kind of mouse cursor to actually appear on the screen when you're playing the game. And second of all, to enable the mouse over events to work as well. So all these kind of things. And what we can do is just kind of copy these, and they will actually go into our controller, which is the place that instructs what it's like the brain of everything. So this is why it goes in here. It's going to receive your input. It's going to figure out what to do with that input and then dish it off. Well, this is a good place to instruct it that we have. We would like to use the mouse. So if I do a constructor here, which is the constructor which we've done before, is using the same name as this. So if you just copy that, paste it, open bracket, close bracket, that's a constructor defined in the header file of your main player controller. And then if you do, maybe copy that, Control K O, I'm holding Control down, we get to this CPP file, we can paste that in, the colon, it says, on this class there is the constructor, done. And in here, if we follow this example here, it says to use these things. So show mouse cursor true, enable click events true, enable mouse over events true. That sounds good to me. Just one more thing, I noticed that Unreal Engine has tried to put getters and setter methods in replacement of setting property values like directly. So instead of changing the underlying property, sometimes they give you now a method that you call to say, oh, can you set this to true or false? And I think maybe this is one that's possible. So show mouse cursor. If I go set show mouse cursor, there it is, there it is. So if we do that, and then it gives you a false or true. So let's call that instead of what they've asked us to do in the other one. And then there's another one. So set enable click events. So that one doesn't appear to have one. And then what about this last one? Set enable mouse over events. Maybe not. Let me just try one more thing. Set mouse over. No. So just this one has been replaced with a method, and we'll use that. So now we've got that. If I were to play right now, and I try and click on the screen, my mouse is gone, right? But now if I go and compile this code that I've just written in my controller, give it some time to react. Alright, now if I press play and I click on the screen, oh, not working. It's not working, so I'd like to debug it because I believe that should be working. So what I'll do is I'll press a little debug point here. I'll go to debug. I'll go to attach to process. I'll search for Unreal. There it is, and I click attach. Let's see how this this breakpoint turns out. So it looks like it's grayed out, and that means that for some reason that last compile that I did, it has not gone through. So I'm going to click it again. Let's see if that this time works. And now it's working. You see, so I can undo that and press continue. And now if I press play and if I click on the screen, we're still not seeing the mouse. So that's interesting. So I'm going to put my debug point back in. I'm going to press play. Right. Okay. So it has definitely run that, and I'm definitely clicking on the screen, and I still can't see my mouse cursor. So now let's just double check that I'm actually using the controller that I think I am. I guess I am because it's hitting the breakpoint, but I'm in my world settings. I go to my game mode section, and I can see clearly that it's using that main player controller. So here's another thing to note. Sometimes if you've just updated something in C++, but the original blueprint has not been updated. If I go through to the blueprint, you know, it's running this code again, great. Sometimes, yes, it's like this. You can see this here, just directly. Because I made the blueprint before I set those values, you can see that this value is still false because it's saved against the blueprint version. And it knows that this, I wish I could point to the screen, but it knows that this value is not its default value, and that it's like an additional thing that has been added to the blueprint. So if we now go show mouse cursor, we just reset that value, see it's now ticked, enable click events and enable mouse over events. Now we've set them to its kind of default value. Hit compile, runs that compiler constructor again, let that continue. And it's compiled, we'll give it a save, we'll close this, and now if we go back into the game, hopefully, if I click on the screen, yes, I've now got the mouse, great. So that's a good one to note. Yes. So now we want to add a click event to the pickup actors. So let me just bring this up a little bit. And also I want to just double check my stream. Yeah, I think you can see that enough. So inside that Riverride project folder that we've made, inside there, blueprints, actors, here it is, the pickup actor. We're going to add a click event here, but what I'd like to do is have the logic of the click event raised from C++, so that when something is clicked, I can do all the C++ code in, and then if I want things to be visually done when I click on it, then I can emit events to the blueprint, and the blueprint can then respond to those events. They should not have logic in the blueprint, is my understanding of how Unreal Engine desires you to do things, though I may be wrong, and I'm fine to be corrected. I went to the Unreal Fest in Prague, and that was the kind of understanding I got from some of the Epic developers. But Yeah, we'll see. So anyway, so what I need to do is I go to my pickup actor, which is in actors, river pickup actor, there it is, and I need to connect a click event. So there's a couple ways of doing it. You can just Google this, obviously. Let me just close this diagnostic tool and this class view. I don't need them at the moment. That's for sure. So I've waited for the kind of writing to go the correct color, and I'm in Visual Studio 2022. But you'll note once again that 2019 is also appearing. Use what you've got, but 2019 has to be open, otherwise Unreal Engine doesn't do its stuff. So at least that's what I find. So if I press F12 on the actor, I've just clicked on the actor there, we're going back into Unreal Engine's code, and we should be able to see some kind of on-clicked. Yeah, exactly. So basically I pressed Control F to start searching on the current document. I've gone on clicked, and I can see called when the left mouse button is clicked while the mouse is over this actor, and click events are enabled in the player controller. So that sounds good. So if I try and find out how to get this method, or at least override it, if I go down here, there is a event when this actor is clicked by the mouse when using the clickable interface. So there is a click event. We've just found that. So now if I go back through a little bit, this one, I'm going to go search for this in Google. So I'm going to do an on-clicked event for Unreal Engine C++. How to do an on-clicked event? Great. Let's just copy what they say. And this looks like the one. So if we just copy this, obviously you can just copy it from my screen, but if I close this actor file now, which is Unreal Engine's code, and I'm back into my river pickup actor, what I need to do is go Control KO to go back to the C++ file. Here I am, and in the begin play, just under here, I can paste this in, and this part, this little sign here, it says I need a reference to a method called onClicked found on this class. Okay, well, what we'll do instead is we'll make our own version of that method. So I'm going to go back onto the header, and I'm going to make a new thing called a U function. I'm going to make this blueprint callable. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that at all. What we'll do is we'll just actually, let's go back to that example, because I think. Okay, let me go and find some, because I actually would like to do this a bit tighter. Let me. Yeah, let me go back on here. So I've just gone back to Google, and I'm trying to find a slightly more complete example here, and then I want to explain it. Okay, fair enough. Well, okay, so let me show you the more complete thing. If I go back to my actor and go back to that onClicked event, yeah, this onClicked thing has this kind of signature, this function signature. And if I go up to that, here it is. It's using this thing's called a macro, and it's something that Unreal Engine has made that just simply gets replaced by actual code. But one of the kind of parameters that they allow you to see on their macro, whatever that really means, doesn't really matter, is that the first parameter of the function that you're overriding must be of type actor, and will have a variable of onClicked, variable name. And the second one will be an actor pointer, and it will have a variable name of touched actor. And then the third one will be what button is being pressed, I guess. So what that means, I think, is if I just copy those. Oh, it's also got, it says it's two parameters, so you can see that the 1, 2, Oh, hang on. Let me just double check this. I can't remember. I think that's roughly how you do it, but mine's a button click C++. That's correct. Maybe it doesn't bring anything through with it. Yeah, maybe it doesn't. Okay. Let's okay, let me try again. Sorry, a bit confusing here, I guess. If I go back to my C++ class, this should actually help me a little bit. If I get type ahead, it's got a function name, and this onClicked AddDynamic. If I click on this and go F12, it is this one. So it's saying that the signature needs to be. I've pressed F12 again to go through to it. It should be these things. I tell you what, let's see what happens. So if I now go to this header, and under here I've got to give my function a name. It's going to be a void, and we'll call it onClicked. And then we'll get rid of these little commas because that's part of their macro, but not part of C++. So we'll do that. Great. And now we'll try and implement this method. So if we go Control KO, sorry, if we just select all this, Control KO, and then we're going to add our clicked event down here. And of course, we need to bring in these the class name, the double pointer, and then this refers to the method name that we just given it a name. So we could call this bubble, we could call it sausage. And if we go to the home, we just say that it's void. It doesn't return any value. Give it those pubes. Okay, so that's looking good. So now this function exists. What we can do is we can start to replace the actual name here with our actual class name. And you can see there's an error. This is what I wanted. It says expression must have class type, but it has type void. Void actor. Let's just remove these parameters. I don't know if they're actually wanted. So we'd have to remove it from the header file and the C++ file. What are we getting now? May still be erroring. I really would like to get an example of this. Example C++. Let's see what other people have done. Yeah, okay, so it's interesting because it does say, so I don't know if you remember, if we go back a little bit, it says that this macro that we're trying to override only has two parameters. So I just noticed that other example here has removed one of those parameters. So I'm going to try that as well. And then I suppose I guess I don't actually really understand how that works then. That's it. So it just needs the two parameters. Interesting. Okay, so what we've got in our begin play is an onClicked event that we're going to bind to, and the binding is in relation to this object, and we can always look Control Shift and space. We can get the type ahead. It says help a macro to bind a UObject instance and a member U function to a dynamic multicast delegate. The user object parameter is the UObject instance. So what is this in relation to? And it's this. Oh, we're still getting that error now. So what did I just change? Oh, I'm a bit confused. Maybe, okay, so maybe it was fine without any parameters at all. I'm sorry about this. I should have looked this up before doing this. Maybe this, yeah, this is just taking a bit of time to calculate itself. Okay, I see. So it says it's ready. We've still got a problem. So I'm going to go through to this AddDynamic and actually see how this is working. I'm just surprised I haven't found a... So this really does only have two parameters. Maybe it was that one. That's just the AddDynamic. Okay, ignore me, ignore me, ignore me. Let's go back and undo and remove this one again. Maybe that was what was actually working. Are you going to get rid of your errors now? No background task. Still doesn't like it. Let's search for like that. Something like that. Oh look, Unreal Engine's actual documentation that came up this time. Not helpful. Thank you. Um, you know what? Let me just go to my previous games. I have done this a million times before. I just haven't done it for a while. So I'll just go and get the code. Go to this project, this one. Um, okay. Mm. Aha, here we go, here we go, here we go. Key, clicked. That's interesting. So there is a... So this one is saying this. I have to say I'm a little bit confused. It's giving us this signature. Let's give it a try. I don't think that's what we want per se. But let's just see what's going on. Very strange. Just waiting for it to load. Okay, still not happy. So, man, I'm really not understanding this. If I remove this altogether, and also remove this, and then I go F12 on this, let's actually go back through to this onClicked event. It's a bit weird that I can't find a good example. Unreal Engine method. Okay, so here we are, and it says called when the left mouse button is clicked while the mouse is over this actor. Great, that sounds perfect. And this signature has 3 parameters. And if I were to go here to the macro, it's got sparse delegate class, owning class, delegate name, parameter 1 type, parameter 2 type. Oh, I see, okay. So 2 parameters, so if I go through to concatenates that into this one, okay, this one. Ah, here we go. So, okay, owning class is where is that being used? Ah, I can't be bothered. This is ridiculous. This should be absolutely easy. Let's put these back in. And I just have a, I don't quite understand why it's 2 parameters with 3. So and the fact this is not a pointer, I've got a funny feeling that's like a reference thing. And in the macro, that should be the case. Let's just try this. Let's just go with the flow and see what the compiler says. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more helpful than this is. That is entirely possible. Cool, okay. So let's imagine this does work. We've now bound this click event that's belonging to the actor with a call to this method. Now let's see what happens when we try and compile this. So if I go back to my header file, you can see I've just got it here. And in fact, let me just take that out and just put a nice little category here instead. I'm going to go to Unreal Engine. We're going to click this compile button. I really apologize that wasn't as clean cut as I'd hoped for, but we should get a nice little error now. I bet. Here we go. So show log. Let's read the error. It says error left of AddDynamic must have class struct union. Let's see what's happening there then. Let's see what differs from this. Right, I see. Ha, okay. I'm being such an idiot, of course. You can't just add a click event to an actor. It needs to have a collision object that you're going to be able to click on. My apologies, I should know that. So essentially, you have your coconut. There's the coconut, and what you can do is you can either make a kind of box collision like this. So when you click, it knows to react from that component, that clickable box component, or you can make a sphere. You know, this is actually a sphere, sorry. And then this will have a click event bound to it, and then you can react upon that. With that said, we need to go and make that collidable box. So let's go and do that. So we need another U property. We're going to give this a little comment. We'll say this is a collision. Well, it's a coconut. Let's do a collision sphere, I guess. Collision sphere that absorbs, that reacts to events, to click events, maybe to even pick up events. Click events, and we'll call this. It's going to be a U sphere component. No, it's not. It's going to be a U capsule component. My apologies. Capsule is a bit funny. It's not actually a sphere. It's got this kind of so you've got your coconut here, and it's like this, and it has this radius at the top, like this, and this height. So you've got radius and then height. I think this might go up here as well. I can't quite remember. And that's the capsule. So it looks like a capsule. Here's the thing. I need to go and find out what that include header file is. So if I go and Google that, U capsule component, click the top one, and down here you've got the includes. If I just copy that now, and paste that above my generated include, which we learned from the first lesson must be at the bottom of the include files. This should stop throwing a fit. And if we go capsule component is going to be my variable name. What I can do is I need to instantiate that capsule component. So we do this, and it's create default sub object of type U capsule component. And if I open the brackets, we give it a name for it. This is stuff we covered in the first episode, which isn't out yet because Google's still processing it for some reason. Give it a name. Probably got a typo here. Let's see. Create default sub object. Yeah, typo. Cool. So that's done. So now that's going to be instantiated. Now we've got this capsule component. We need to set it as the root component of the pickup actor. So what we do is set root component, and then we pass in the capsule component. That once again, if we refer to what that actually means, is in a hierarchy of an actor, you can add lots of properties, right? This might be a, I don't know, a static mesh. That might be a sausage, whatever, doesn't matter. a capsule component, right? But the thing is, um, the first element that the engine sees, it will attach as the root component. And what that means then is that anything else that you make will be underneath it in hierarchy. So I want to define that this specific capsule component that I've got should be the root so that everything else comes under it. That's what I'm doing anyway. So set root component, so it goes there. And if what I can say is if the capsule component is alive, then attach that clicked event. And if I just put that at the beginning, this component actually has its own onClicked event. So now that's all done. If I press F12 on that, we'll get a slightly different signature. Here it is, and if I press F12 on that, now we can see two parameters, and the first parameter is the touch component, and the second is the key press, which is one of the reasons why my other code is a bit different. Now I understand it. Great, so if I go back, I've copied that. So if I go back now, and I can change the signature of my onClicked method to this, and if I go Control KO back to my header file and just change this one over, and go back to the C++ file, now we're in the money, right? Now this is going to work. So if the capsule component is instantiated, then add a clicked event, and when something is clicked, then it should go to this method. And we've got a breakpoint here just to double check. Now if I go back to C++, sorry, the Unreal Engine editor, and compile the code, fingers crossed, everything's solved. Okay, we'll go show log. What we're doing? Missing a variable name on river pickup actor 44. So we go back there, river pickup actor 44. Yes, okay, I forgot to take these commas out, which is not a C++ thing. That's parameters for their macro. So we've taken that out now, and now if we go back in, I think, well, actually, I've probably done the same here. There it is, yeah. That was on the CPP file. So now if I go and compile, we should be in the money. We are. Great. So now we've got a click event. So let's play. That's interesting. Something's happened. So what just happened there? If we go into our code here and then go to our spawner actor, let's just see if I put a breakpoint in, what's actually happening when I press play. So it's running, and I step over and I ignore this little thing. And is the initial spawn count more than 0? It is. Is the river actor enabled? Yes, it is. So it's going to do some spawning. So that should be fine. Let's put a breakpoint down here, untick that one, continue. We get here, so there is a spawned actor, and there it is. We hit continue. But it's still not there. If we eject, this is a good way of debugging this. The problem is probably that we're spawning an actor now that has a collision. And that collision is probably interfering with other collisions, and thus it's blocking its ability to spawn the actor. And here's a cool thing, I think, is that you can see if I go spawn if I go to this spawn actor inside the river pickup spawner actor, and I go and get the type ahead, I believe there's a way of knowing if it's spawned or not. It might even be on this spawn parameters. Let me just try this. I think there's a way to get information of what happened when it tried to spawn, but I'm guessing that's the case. So what we're going to do anyway is go back to the editor. We go to the pickup actor, and here's our little capture component that we have added, right? And attached to it is our static mesh. Stop the code and go to viewport. You can see it here. Actually, maybe this is a good time to actually resize this a bit. So if I click on this capture component, you can readjust the height here. Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. Maybe a bit smaller, make it a bit more challenging. That seems to envelop the coconut enough and compile that. But if I click here and I go to this side menu, let's go and collapse all these, collapse all categories. There is one called collision, and at the moment it's saying overlap all dynamic. Um, overlap. I think what we want to do is set some of these trace responses to block so that when we actually, well, actually no, what are we trying to solve here? We're trying to solve the fact that it's not spawning. So maybe so this actually seems okay at the moment. If I go to static mesh, let's see what the collisions are in this one. So this one's actually block all dynamics. So I think we probably don't want to do that. We'll instead go no collision. Let's compile that and save that, and let's hope that that doesn't get interfered with now. It doesn't, great. And if I click on it, nothing's happening. So here's the next thing. These collisions need to be told to block the mouse. So if I go back to my capsule component, we could actually go and say something like custom, and then we could say something like query only or collision enabled, query and physics, all these kinds of things. But what I think I'd like to do instead is code that in the back end. So if I yeah, if I go to my code here and go up to my pickup actor, in the instantiation, what I can do is I can say if my capsule component has been initialized, then we can set the capsule component's collision to be enabled in the form of query only. And this little doozy here, if you press Control Shift Space, no, Control Space, sorry, you can see all the other options. There were the ones in the editor, no collision, physics only, query. So I'm going to do query only because I only care about it reacting to my click event, at least at this moment in time. So that's the collision enable. Now if I do to the next one, there's a collision response to channel, and it's saying, what do you want? If I go back to the editor, I'll show you. There's three channels here. Wait, sorry, visibility block. What's the other? Oh, I see. Not quite what it's meant here. These channels are actually referring to something in here. If I go to Edit, Project Settings, and go Channel, Engine Collision has these things called channels, and you can basically assign. You can create a new channel called, I don't know, Bob, and you can say what's the default behavior for Bob for items that want to collide with it. So if I go new object channel, I can actually say that the default will be block, ignore, overlap, etc., 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 etc. Sorry. So this is what this is referring to, and we're going to say that the default response for visibility is going to be block. I don't know if that makes much sense. I tell you what though, let's just take it out. Let's see what it doesn't do, and then we'll put that back in. So here we are. We're going to compile that. We're going to save that. We're going to compile the code. So we've enabled collision. Let's see. That's still not doing anything. So we're going to put this one in and see if that helps to set those default parameters to block for the query only. Now let's try it. Oh, we're still not getting anything. Are we even? We are clicked. Let's go here, make sure that's all being added. Let's make sure that that's being added. Go back through and we press play. So we get into this, we're setting the collision responses. Good. We continue with ignore. It's binding the onClick event. It's running the compiler again for the other 4 coconuts. And the click event is still not working. So why is that? Let me see if I've got anything else that I can see here. Yep, that's fine. Um, Ah, of course, we've done the same thing again. So we've changed the code, but if we go back into the actor, there's a capsule component here, and these are now overriding the defaults that we've already set in the constructor. So if I just undo those changes that were saved when we first made this thing, you can see query only is going to be on a world dynamic object type, and we're going to set block to all of these columns here. Go compile. It's running this. Let me just unhook all this stuff because we know it's okay. Save that. Now let's give this a try. And boom, I've clicked it, and then the coconut is responding. So I suppose what we could do now is just on click we can emit a message to Blueprint to tell it we've done something and we want you to react to that something. There's two ways of doing this. There's a delegate, which is cool because with delegates you can assign events at a world level. So you could say you could react in different ways to different instances of an object. But in this case, I don't need to do that. I just want to I want to make a particle effect happen, right? So what instead we'll do is I'm just going to untick that one for a second. Stop this game and I'll go back to my code. You can make a thing called a blueprint native event. So if we copy this U function here and we say blueprint native event, and what we'll do is say we'll call this pickup was clicked, or let's give it a different name. We'll say river actor was picked up, right? And we'll get rid of all that. And this is just a function that we're defining, so we're going to call yes, we're going to call it ourselves. So here's the thing about these blueprint native events, is the way they work is they create an interface in Unreal Engine. So when the game is compiled and all this information is looked at by Unreal Engine, it gets to this U function here and it says, oh, this is a native event, and it generates an interface for us, which then we can connect to in our blueprint. Interface is a good Google word. It's across lots of languages. C++ doesn't have interfaces by default. It's got these things called contracts, but not interfaces. So Unreal Engine have made their own version of them. Anyway, let's go and make our own version of this code here. So paste that into there. We'll put the class on. This is bread and butter, by the way. Just learn that. That is how methods are defined. And so when we clicked, we can go and make a call to that method. River actor was picked up, and we just call that. Okay, and then we're gonna put a little breakpoint here, and I think we're good there. So now if I go back into my editor and compile this code, we'll see this error, and it says a couple of very interesting things, and this is why I mentioned the interface. It says error, public void, C declaration. This class with this method is already defined in riveractor.cpp. Huh? No, it's not. But it is, because when the engine's compiled, it wants you to be calling or it wants you to be giving it the implementation for the interface rather than the method itself. It's very odd. I really don't like it, but anyway, it is how it is. So you can see here actually it says unresolved external symbol. It says my river pickup actor should have an underscore implementation. So if we went into Unreal Engine's documentation, Unreal Engine blueprint native event documentation, or example maybe, let's do example. You'll see here oh, please tell me they've got an example. No example. Okay, it's got to be here somewhere. I learnt it somehow. uh, yeah, there's proper documentation for this. Well, okay, maybe there isn't very good documentation for it, but anyway, basically this underscore implementation is the thing that you end up implementing. So at least you've got something to search for in the end, and I guess you can see it from here anyway. But essentially, because I've declared this as a native event, then the actual implementing part of it needs to have that. It's a bit weird, I know. So now if I go and compile, hopefully that should be less annoying. That was underscore implementation. And that stopped worrying us now. And I wish I'd actually been able to show you the generated file. Let me go and see if I can show you that. If I go back to the river pickup actor header file, and if I go through to this generated file here, it won't let me. So sometimes if you're lucky and it runs against an error, it'll throw up this generated file for you, and actually you can start to see how the Unreal Engine is uh, doing some reflection against these different macro things and putting in these extra underscore implementation calls. And all it's all very obvious when you see it, but anyway, maybe another day. So I'm going to go back to the editor, that compiled fine. And now if we go to this river pickup actor and go to the event graph, delete these bad boys. If you right click here, you should now be able to see our new event, which was called river actor was picked up. So river actor was picked up, and there it is, custom event. And we can actually react upon it. Now, there's one thing to note, that when you override this event in Blueprint, it then does not allow the C++ code to run. So let's just show you that. If I compile this, maybe it'll print something to the screen. So if I've pulled off of here, I'll just type in print, hit enter, print string, hello, that'll do. Compile that and save that. If I right click on this and go toggle breakpoint, we've got a breakpoint here in Blueprint, and I've got a breakpoint here in C++. Now let's see what happens. If I now go play and click on this, it's running the Blueprint code, but if I resume, it has not run the C++ code. So what we can do here is actually, I think you can right click and add call to parent function. And now if we connect this up, like so, now let's run this and click on that. Click on this, it runs our implementation first. Then if I hit continue, now goes into Unreal Engine Editor and then runs the Blueprint code instead. All good, okay. This is why I don't particularly like this way of doing things, but actually in this case I think it makes sense. The other way is that delegate way. In fact, let's just show you that delegate. Let's just do it. So let me go to some code offline here. It's nice to see the difference, and actually maybe it's worth showing you that. Bear with me, nearly there. Sure. Actors, let's see. Where have we got one? There's one. Okay. So what you could do is, yeah, declare these things called delegates, and you basically you can put them into the header file, and they look a bit like this. So this is a macro that Unreal Engine converts into C++ code. It says declare a dynamic multicast delegate, and in this case, I think this is one parameter or maybe no parameters on the delegate, which means, let me just draw that. Windows 11 is quite broken, I have to say. Okay, so if an event comes in, and we react upon that onClicked event, and then we raise a delegate And when raising it, we say just make a call to this method, and we don't need to pass it anything. That's as opposed to, okay, we've got a click event and we wanna raise our delegate, but we want to also pass a few bits of information A and B. In this case, we would want to do a 2-parameter or a 1-parameter delegate. In this case, though, we are only doing nothing at this moment. So now we just give it a name. This can be called, I think it might need to start with F, which is a naming convention. I don't know if it needs to end with delegate. It might not need anything, but what I do this anyway. And what we'll say is we'll say this: river actor was picked up. River actor was picked up delegate. Now this becomes a type that you can code against, so or raise against. So now if I go up here with the U properties, I paste that in there. I have to remind myself how to do this. You can Google this stuff, but yeah. Yeah, it's this. So the U property is blueprint assignable. And what we can do is we can just give this type a name. Here we go. This is the variable. This is the delegate type. We've made this blueprint assignable, and we'll say raised when someone clicks the pickup actor. So now if we copy this, and in here, when this is on clicked, rather than calling our blueprint native event, we can just do this. And if we wait for the IntelliSense to finish, if I press Control Space on this, well, actually, you have to first compile the code to generate the type. This does not exist until you've compiled, so that's a good little lesson there. If I just comment this out for now, save this, go back to Unreal Engine, hit compile. Now I'll go back to Visual Studio. You'll actually notice that this will start to give me some type. Oh god, maybe it won't. Okay, well it won't. So let me just. It will at some point. Maybe you have to restart the editor or something. I can't remember. I think it's just you broadcast though, such like this. And with that all is said and done, if we go back now into Unreal Engine and compile, hopefully that'll work. I think it's broadcast. There we go. It was broadcast. Cool. So now this doesn't exist anymore. Or at least we're not going to call it. But now we should, if we compile this, hit compile and right click here, and we can say just type in delegate, I think, or maybe what's it called? River actor was picked up. Look at this. Assign river actor was picked up delegate. So if I click that instead, then I can actually react to this. So if I put my begin play back in, and I assign this delegate in here, and then I string this up to this hello printing and compile. And if I put a little breakpoint on this event here, toggle breakpoint, and I'll put the event here, toggle breakpoint. If I now go and play this, save, play, minimize this, and click on this, you'll see now that it's actually caught the delegate, which we've raised. But here's the problem with this: it's so ugly. Having to do this in your begin play. So it's really, which one do you want to go for? The advantage of this, which is I was talking about earlier, is if you had something specific in your level that you wanted to do, then if you had like instances of things that you can pick up, let's just put one in. If I put this one in here, and whilst it's selected, if I now right clicked here, I can say add event, custom, add river actor was picked up delegate. And now I can react very specifically to that item and do something in my level design. But we don't want that. So I'm going to remove all that. Just wanted to show you the difference. Boom, 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 all gone. And we're going to use this native event for now. At least we know though how that stuff works, right? So we're going to comment that out. I'm going to comment this out with Control K C, and I go up to the top and I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go Control K C, hold Control whilst doing that. Now we're back to square one and we are good to go with our events. I've probably just missed something silly. River actor was picked up, delegate is undeclared. Okay, let's go find it. It says CPP 63. CPP 63, I didn't save it, that's why. So if I go back in and compile that, close that, done. Okay, so rather than now than printing the screen, what we're going to do is we're going to add a particle effect. So if we just go down here to our river folder, and we'll go and create a new folder, and we'll call it particle. Well, actually, yeah, particle effects. That's fine. And inside here, we right click and we go miscellaneous. No, we don't. We go animation. No, we don't. Where is it? We go to FX. Okay, that's more like it. And we go and create a Niagara system, which is the new particle emitter framework. A new system from selected emitter, a new system from a template. I'm not going to teach how to do the particle emitters here, so we'll just go from a template next, and we'll just do a a simple explosion. Why not? Sounds good to me. And we're going to call this the Niagara system underscore, and we'll say coconut picked up. Coconut picked up. Cool. If I open that, you'll see that's the particle effect for it. It's all made for us, and we'll just save it. Boom, bang, bish, bash, boom. Or something like that. Then if we go back to if we close this, we go back to our actors, our pickup actor, and what we'll do is we'll add a Niagara particle system. There it is. And then we're going to go and choose our system asset, which is the coconut picked up. And if we then go back to the viewpoint, we can kind of change its starting position, although that looks like a good starting position. If we compile that, we've got one more problem. If we were to run this straight away, the explosion will happen immediately, so we need to stop it auto-activating. So we can actually go and search auto-activate, just untick that. Notice I'm not doing any of this in the code. This is all in Blueprint because this is visual stuff. So it doesn't require much logic. It's just kind of binding to events with the kind of core logic underneath it. So now we go back to our event graph. Instead of printing a string, what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of this to get a reference to that particle effect, and we're going to go activate. Done. So now that the particle system gets activated, we need to find out how long this is, or I think there's actually an event that we can, so it's like on finish maybe, or end. Let's see if we can find this. Event dispatchers, assign on system finished. If you click that, now we can create a binding for this, and we can say once the system's finished exploding, we can go and destroy this actor. Destroy actor. And we are done. Compile, save, play. Now if I click, nothing happens. Oh dear. Not quite what we wanted. I'm going to delete that actor that we put in the scene here. I'm going to go to my open level blueprint. Yeah, everything's deleted. Great. Let's figure out what's happening here. So we can go toggle breakpoint. And if I press play and click this, nothing's happening. That's why. So let's go and see what I didn't do here. Oh, that's right. We forgot to put our callback in. So let's go put our callback into our implementation here, and then go back and compile. Whoops. My confidence levels are high, but I'll remain with these breakpoints for now. If I press play and then click, now we've got our event being emitted. We'll ignore that. And then it exploded. Actually, funny enough, it didn't stop on this. So something's still not quite right. If I toggle the breakpoint there and run this again, so it's actually not, it's not running this. And I suppose it's because this is all bound to the wrong event because we got rid of it and then we added it again. So maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe you have to save. Maybe that's what was wrong with it. Oh, that's very strange. Yeah, okay. Let me just try this again. Event river active was picked up. Yeah, it is already bound. So tell you what, maybe I'll close this and reopen it. Something a bit strange going on there. Not sure why that's not running this code, because if I were to disconnect this, so if I go stop, break all breakpoints, compile and save, and press play, it's not clicking. So it's definitely running that code, but it's not hitting my breakpoints. Let's put this back in. Ooh, how odd. Oh, I see. So there's something to learn here. That's a good one. You can actually debug a specific actor. So if you click on this, it's going to be one of these. So if I just select that and now I run it, one of these events will trigger it. I'm sure. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's this one. There it is. That one. Okay, because there was 4 coconuts. So it's got to my thing. It's going to go skip. It's going to get activated. It's going to go and bind that event. Hopefully it gets to destroy the actor, but it does not. Oh, there it is. The destroy actor. Cool. Okay, we are good. So if we remove all these breakpoints by right-clicking, remove breakpoint, remove breakpoint. I think we're good to go now. Yeah, that's it. Good stuff. Interesting how, as well, that it's not actually destroying the actor. Let's just make sure we're doing this right. So if I stop this, destroy, it's here somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's destroy actor. And this is referencing itself, so it should be being destroyed. Okay, we'll come back to that. So the next step is to have the controller input. So when I press maybe A and D, then it will take my boat left and right. So what we first do is we go to Tools, no, we go to Edit, Project Settings, and then we search for I think it's called Actions. Action. Yeah, and so under engine input, there is this bindings thing. So if I go to engine input, here they are, bindings, and it says action mappings. Action and axis mappings provide a, let me just check this is working, yep. Okay, provide a mechanism to conveniently map keys and axes to input behaviors by inserting a layer of indirection between them, blah, 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 blah. Essentially, you click this, you expand this, and you give this a name, and I'm going to call this it's not an action, my apologies. Actions are for like when you click or press a key and stuff, but actually what we want is an axis mapping, because we want to have a controller tell us which way we've gone, left or right. So if we go axis mappings, go in here, and we'll call this movement, and then we're going to expand this, and it says which keys should we care about. So when I press the A key, got to go down to keyboard here, A, then I want the scale to be -1 left, I guess that makes sense. And when I press D, D, then it's going to be +1. Cool. So now I've got this little name that I can link into in my code. Not sure I particularly like this, but it is what it is. So cool. So this is going to happen in the controller. The controller is going to listen to this event, and there's a neat little method that we can override here, and I think it's called setup input components. But we can go and find out if we go back to the player controller, and if I search for setup input component, here's another virtual method. We described those before in the last tutorial, but it's a method that I can override. Unreal Engine has its own implementation of it, but we can add a bit more to it. So if you copy this, then we go back to our main player controller header, and we can just override it here. Override. And although this doesn't actually make a difference to the code, you could remove the virtual because you're not inheriting from anything yet, so nothing will override this implementation. So yeah, we'll just remove it. And then if I just copy this, and we'll make the implementation for it, paste that in there, we grab our class name, we put that at the beginning there, and we give this a few pubes. Good. So now we have a lovely method to bind stuff to, and what we can do is just search Google bind to input component axis mapping Unreal Engine. Just put loads of words in there. Input action and axis mappings in UE4. That sounds good. So if we scroll down, in both C++ and Blueprints, axis, blah blah blah. There are a lot of other input. Let's see this one. Input documentation. 404. Great. Good start. Let's go back. Binding input in C++. There you go. That sounds good. And here it is. Input component bind action, and then you've got bind axis. So this is great. Let's do this instead. So we copy that, paste that in here. Input component comes from the inheriting class. So the player controller has this property, and I suppose they're just asking if it's available to us. Then we're going to bind our axis, and ours wasn't move forward, it was going to be movement, right? So let's go and copy that, put that in there. This input component is a property or a variable, and then there's this pointer to, and on this is a bunch of methods, and one of them is bind axis. And if I press Control Shift space after this parenthesis, I'll get the signature. It says I can have an axis name, movement, can have an object that is going to react to the input. Well, this player controller will. And then it says what function to call back, and it's got this kind of type of function that is required. Good. So if we go through to this, we'll find out what that type of function needs to be. It's a type name f input axis handler signature. So press F12 on that. Looks like a float with a axis value. Good. So let's come back out of this, and we'll go back into our header file for our controller. We're going to do a U function. I'm going to give it a category. And we're going to give a void. It's not going to return anything, and it's going to be called movement axis event. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to call this. And I'm going to put that little parameter there that we found out from the event thing. So now that's there. If we go and make our implementation for this class, so here it is. Copy this over to here. Get rid of the semicolon, put some pubes in, and we'll put a little breakpoint here. And then finally we'll just replace this method that's going to be called with this one instead. Then we go into here, and we will close this down now because we're all finished with it, and we're going to compile the code, see what errors we get. It's always errors. Ah, no errors. Wow. Okay, well, if that's the case, if I press play, what happens if I press A or D? Nothing. Let's just double check that this ran. So if I go back and I just well, I can see the problem already. I'm being a douche. If I stop, it probably gave you a warning actually, but essentially, if you override stuff, you better damn be sure that you call Unreal Engine's code first. So that's a very important step there. So let's go back into here and compile. Now let's give it another go. So I've pressed play, I've got the breakpoint, input components there, great. We go and bind the axis. Cool, hit continue. Oh look, it's already running it actually. And it's running it every single iteration. Okay, interesting. Well, that makes sense, I suppose, because we always want to know what the input's going to be from the controller, so it might as well listen to it, right? Okay, so let's now so now that we've got that set up, we need to do something with the pickup actor. So let's just for giggles sake, we can I tell you what, let's now put our character in actually. So in order to do that, we'll go to our blueprint and we'll go to our characters and our BP main character. We're going to open up the full blueprint editor so we can have a bit of a viewport look, see what our character looks like. Let's go see if there is in the content Quixel bridge. Let's go see if there is a lovely. Just gonna put this over to the side. Am I logged in? Sign in. And I think we're logged in now. Yes. Okay. Let's see if there's a boat. So we search for boat. Sure. Well, why don't we just use this for now? That will be our boat. Oh, actually, maybe we'll just make a boat. So if we pull up Blender, let's just make one, and we close this out. Let's see, this seems fine. What we'll do is we'll left click to select it. We'll press S to scale it. And we'll press Y to scale it on the Y axis like this. Whoa! And then we use the mouse to kind of pull it back and forth a bit, and click to confirm. And then we'll scale on the X axis a little bit. So S to scale, X to scale on the X, and we'll pull that out like that. Then we'll let's see, we'll need to divide this up so we can have a little point. So what we'll do is press Tab to go into edit mode. We'll select face up here. We'll click on the face. We'll press F3 to search. We'll go subdivide. We'll click subdivide mesh. But what we'll do is we'll expand this option here. You know, that's actually fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's all done it. Great. So now we've got this lovely front that we can pull up. Now we need a little inset. So if we click on, you know, with this face thing selected, we click on the top. We're still in edit mode, and we press I for inset. And we pull this in a little bit. Maybe we can. Oh, middle click is to rotate, by the way. Maybe we can scale this out a little bit. So we'll press S. We're going to scale it on the Y axis, so it's nice, like kind of aligned. We can even align the camera a bit. If we press numpad 7, it'll go on top there and we can get a better view of this. S, Y. There you go, that kind of thing. Ooh. Maybe there. And we can press G to kind of position it a bit as well. Cool. And click. Now I can middle mouse button to kind of spin it around a bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this down into the cube. So first of all, I want to be able to see the inside. So I'm going to click this toggle X-ray. Now we can see some of the lines. And we press E to extrude. Then we press Z to lock to the Z axis. And then we pull down to get to the bottom of the boat. And click to confirm. Now we press something like 5. No, sorry, don't press that. Press numpad number 1. You can see how far you've gone down to the bottom. Or you could do numpad number 3. To see on the side view. We could do number 7 to see the top, and then you can use the middle mouse to pull it around again. So I guess this will be our front. So now all we need to do is pull that front bit out. So what you can do is you can select this edge tool here, And you can then click on the edge, hold shift, click on this edge, click on that edge, and click on this little bit here. I'm scrolling in to zoom, I'm holding shift and then the middle mouse button to kind of navigate and sidestep. What I'll do is I'll press number 3 to go on the side view, and I'm just going to press G and then Y to lock to the Y-axis, and I'm going to pull out a little bit. Click that. And then finally, I think what I'll do is I'll get the vertices, and I'll just select these bottom vertices and pull them up. G, Z to lock the axis and pull up a little bit. And then I click to confirm. That looks like a boat to me, so I think maybe what we need one more is to kind of get this, rather than stretching up in that way, it would go up on its own. So what we'll do is we'll just we'll press on this vertices, we'll click that, and we'll click this one. We have to be very careful here to select the right one, and we'll press F to make a face between those. No, we won't. We won't press that. We'll press Z to undo. We'll press F3, and then we'll do we'll type fill, and then we'll say grid fill. Ah, it won't work. Okay. Maybe this is a bad way of doing this. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So let's roll back a bit. Maybe this is not the best approach here. So I'm just basically undoing back to my subdivide. Keep undoing. There we go. So we're back at our block here. I think what we'll do instead is we'll press E and then lock to the Y-axis with Y, and then we'll pull out, and now we've got like our own extra block to work with here. So now we do the same. We're gonna press Tab to edit. We'll click on the face. We'll get this face, and we will press I to inset it. I'll press 7, numpad 7, to just position this a bit better with S, Y, stretch out. That looks good. I'm going to position it around here, and I'm going to press E to extrude, Z to go on the Z axis, and then pull that down a little bit. That looks good. And then what we'll do is, I think we'll just pull in these corners basically. So let's go and get these vertices here. We'll go 7 to go to the top view. We'll select this side, hold shift, and then select this side. And then if you press S, then X to lock up the X axis, and then we'll just kind of pull it in a little bit. And then we'll click to confirm. And then finally we'll just move this up. So we'll click away to we'll press double tap A to deselect. Then we'll go 3 on numpad to go to the side view. Then we'll select these items here, press G to grab, Z for the axis, and then slide up a little bit, like so. Click to confirm, and there we've got a boat. That looks all right. Tab to come out of edit view. There's our boat. Awesome. As a bit of a hack, we'll press F3, and we'll do shade. We click shade smooth. You know what? Let's not do that. It doesn't look great, so we'll undo that one. I think the kind of hard shading is fine here, isn't it? What we'll do as well is we'll click on this little modifier button here, whilst this is selected in object mode, and we'll click subdivision surface, and it'll look a bit like that. And then what we can do is we can go back into edit mode, and we can add some creases here. So if I think first things first, we can select this line, and we can press F3 and go edge crease. And then what we can do is click and then toggle how much it should be curved by the subdivision surface. So I'm going to put this to 1, I think, at the moment. And then the next one I'm going to do is the back 2 parts. Shift select. I'm going to go F3, edge crease, hit enter, and I'm going to pull that out a bit. And I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do that one, that one, that one, this one, and this one. Yes, I see where I went wrong here. I can do edge crease, hit enter. I'm going to go to 1, and I'm going to do this one. I think this was if you click on one with an edge crease and you click on this little button here, I think it's in maybe view. Oh, it's here somewhere. Edge data, here it is, yeah. On the item edge data, you can see the amount of crease that was added. So if I go and click on this one that I've left out, and I can increase that to 1 here. So now we've got the back, right? But we've got this extra kind of beautiful shape here. And I suppose one more is if I go 7 to the top view, I'd like to straighten this out a bit as well. So if I click on these side ones here, like this, and then add an edge crease here, that'll kind of flatten out a bit. So I've got to 1 here. Let's see, maybe this one too. And then we'll do these side parts here. Where are we? Let's see, the inner one here. Edge crease of 1. This outer one. Edge crease of 1. And press tab to kind of have a little look at this. I'm going to press Z and go to material preview. I think we'll need to get this one, this little corner bit here, this little bit corner, and this bottom bit here, this one here, and this one here, this one here, and this one here. We'll do that to 100 as well. Yeah, this is not going well. Let's bail on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bail on this subdivision. I'm going to hit A. I'm going to press F3, and I'm going to go clear crease. Nope, edge crease again. And I'm just going to click and then go 0. So these should now be, oh okay, they're not actually, but that's annoying. How do I? Okay, 0. So you can select them one and just adjust them there. Great. Okay. So back here. So what do I need to do here? Maybe maybe to try this again. So we'll select all, and we'll go subdivision surface. We will. What are we gonna do? If we press Control R, we get to divide this up like this. And if you click, and then you can move this kind of thing like this. If you move one to kind of the edge here, and if I click press Control R again, and at this point here I added a subdivision, I moved this one up here. That's still not quite right. Let's undo, maybe just focus on the back for now. If you Control R. and I can move this, Control R, literally, and then you move up and down. Let's put one there, maybe that looks a bit better. And then Control R, click, move up a bit. That looks better. That's better. All right, good. That's better. And maybe Control R here. We'll add one up to the top here. Okay, that's looking more like a boat. Maybe we'll do one more. Control R. You kind of hover your mouse over and it kind of gives you a selection here, right? I'm going to go on this one here, and I'm going to pull down a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to go into the inside one. It's not the outside one, but the inside one. I'm just going to pull that down a bit as well. Rough as heck. I'm not the greatest of these Blender people. And I'm going to do one more here. No, I'm not. I think that's fine. That is fine. That looks like a boat to me. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we go back to object mode. This is tab to edit, tab out to object mode. Now we'll do a F3 smooth, shade smooth. Looks a bit more boat-like or something. And then we're going to do press U for unwrap. Oh no, sorry. Press Tab to go into edit mode. Press A for all. Press U, and then Smart UV Project, and then press OK. Now we're going to, this little bit in the corner here, if you just pull up on that, it'll give you a new editor window. And if you select this top left and go to Shader Editor, you'll be brought into the material options. Now if I click away here and kind of press Tab to go into object mode, down here there's a material, and if we call this boat, good. And then what we can do is just add an image. If we go Shift and A, click in here, Shift and A, texture, image texture, and then we plop that there, and we pull that color into there. Let's go to bridge. Let's just sign in quickly. Just loading, just loading. Okay. And then if I go to, I don't know, wood, let's see, that looks fine, that one I guess. Let's click that, wooden planks. Maybe this one, quite this one. And then if you go down to here and go download, and then click on this little 3 burger menu here and go to files, and there's your files. And what I do is I normally just click in here and then I copy that, and I go back to Blender and I go to open, I paste it into here and I press enter, and then it's the albedo is the actual one that we want, and there you see the boat is roughly patched together. It'll do. That's all I want really. So now if I save this, and I'm going to call this the river boat, and we hit pipeline up here, we go export, we go send to Unreal, you don't have the correct objects, undo the mesh or rig collection. So we've done this again, as the same as last time. We click on the object in object mode, we just drag that into the mesh, and then we go pipeline, export, send to Unreal. See if it works this time. Could not find open Unreal Editor instance. That's so weird, isn't it? I tell you what, let's try solve this. If I close this and we save all of this, right? And then just close this and go to Visual Studio, and hopefully this will stop now. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually compile it from here and run it with debugger. I have a funny feeling that this might make it work. Let's try this again. Pipeline, export, send to Unreal. Could not find an open Unreal Editor instance. Okay, let me try and go preferences, UE or Unreal. Maybe if I just untick that, close it, save it, close Blender, reopen Blender, go to my riverboat, go to edit, preferences, Unreal, click that, expand it. Let me just check these paths. Oh look, it's changed my path. So instead of this, I'm going to put my game folder back in. Let me go back to Unreal Engine if it will let me. River Ride. If I go back to here, put that one in, and I'm going to call this /meshes /blender / not dot. I'm going to do that the same for the animations folder here, like so. That's my pass. That's my export. Okay, all good. I'm going to close that. I'm actually going to create those folders as well. Maybe that's, well, you know, let's just try it first. So export, send to Unreal. Is this going to work now? No, very strange. Not had this problem before. Let me just add a folder as well. We'll call this meshes, and we'll call this Blender. And go into here and let's just try and see if that now finds it. Maybe that's what was wrong. It doesn't have the right folder. Could not find and open. Okay, let's just Google that. Could not find and open Unreal Editor Blender send to Unreal. Enable the Python script utilities plugin on UE4 and enable, that's right, enable remote execution in project settings. Right, I forgot about that. It's actually in the guide that you read. You probably didn't have that problem. If you go to edit project settings, I think it's Python or something, scripts, execution game, where is it? What did it say again? Enable remote executions. Let's copy that. Go into here. Where is it? Python script utilities plugin. Okay, it's not in there then. Close that. Go to where are these things now? Try and look for plugins. Plugins. There it is. Edit plugins. Python. Python editor script plugin. Sure. And then let's actually go to the documentation because I can't actually remember this at all. Unreal Engine, send to Unreal documentation. Yeah, click on that. Go down to here. Documentation here. We just sign in quickly. Oh God. Not that I ever actually remember my password. I don't, clearly. Oh dear. Maybe it's that. Nope. Okay, well, I can't remember my password for GitHub. Bear with me. Just log into my other computer. Okay. So we're going to try and find the send to Unreal. Send to Blender Tools. There it is. Blender Tools. Documentation. Here it is. Send to Unreal, and it says begin quick start tutorial. It says install the add-on. It says plugins, editor scripting utilities. Let's do that. Editor scripting utilities is enabled. Good. Let's go back to here. We did the Python editor script. We go project settings and enable remote execution. Let's do that. Edit project settings, enable remote execution. Interesting. Maybe remote. That might have been removed in UE5. Let's see how this goes at the moment. Let's see if that now works. Send to Unreal. Maybe I have to restart Unreal actually. Yeah, okay, so let's restart Unreal. In fact, let me just double check the plugins we enabled. So edit plugins. There it is. Yeah, there we go, restart now. Okay. And I think what we'll do is we'll try that debug thing that I said. Oh, gosh. Okay, well, it's done anyway. Cool. So let's close this. Let's try the Blender again. Let's see. Has it made any difference? So there's still something missing. Editor preferences is that. Execution. Enable script. Something like this. Enable content browser integration. Should Python scripts be available in the content browser? Should developer mode be enabled on the Python interpreter? No. Let me try read this properly. Enable remote execution. Enable remote execution is not here. I think this might be a problem with me being in oh, here it is. Ha. Okay, project settings. Right. Tick that one. Cool. Okay. Now let's give it a try. Jeez Louise. Export send to Unreal. Good. Okay, that worked this time. Great. So if we go back here, we'll notice that the meshes and blender folder have been filled up with our boat. Thank goodness. And all the materials have been done for us. That's cool. So what we can do is go back to our blueprints, characters, main character, go to open the full blueprint editor, and we can go to our skeletal mesh. Actually, you could probably, I don't know if we can delete this. We can't. If we just like add a static mesh here, and we'll call this the boat, and then we're going to go and choose our mesh, which I guess will be, let's see, not that one, static mesh. There it is. We'll call this the the cube. Poorly named. Oh well. There you go. There's our boat. Compile, save. Beautiful. Okay. So now I think what we'll do is we're actually going to if we press play, essentially that boat will be spawned where our camera is, and I don't need to do that. And I think also I'd like to kind of resize it and stuff. What you can do is actually put none in here. But if I actually pull the blueprint in, I still have control over it on my controller. So now I can kind of scale it down to my scene and rotate it with, so that was R, and then you can kind of drag the middle and scale it. You can also do E to rotate, and if I rotate that round. And there's one more thing, if I go back into this, I think what's really helpful is to actually see the arrow component. So if you click on that, you can see that it's pointing that way, so actually I should really rotate the boat round. So I clicked on the boat, rotate 90, and hopefully I can add another arrow, because that's a terrible arrow. So I've added another arrow, and let's put that on the capsule component, and I'm going to pull that up with the transform tool. Oh, there we go. Make sure that's set back to 0. There's our arrow there. That's helpful. And then what's the other arrow doing then? So we can't select that one, so we'll just leave that one. Part of the whatever. Okay, cool. So now we've got an arrow. If we close this do-rag down, and then we go back to the kind of details panel of our main character, and we can kind of reset that rotation. Now it's pointing the correct way, and now we can rotate it around to the correct way. Something like that. And we're going to scale it down quite considerably, I guess. Maybe 0.1. Oh, you know what? Don't forget to do this. If you press this lock symbol, then it will lock everything to that kind of same thing. Cool. Okay. Maybe 0.2. Good. Now I'm gonna position that kind of like here. I think what's important is that it has the same position as the first location. So actually, rather than setting it, with our draggability here, what we could instead do is position it in code, just like we've done with the pickup actors. So that would mean that we'd need a reference with our character to the river. And we've done this already, so if we go to the pickup actor, and we can just copy this river actor here, and we'll go to our character header file, and we'll paste this in here at the bottom, and then we'll go back to the pickup actor C++ file, and we'll just copy this code out. Basically, is if river, then no, it's not that. It's the pickup spawner actor. Sorry, it's going to be this river actor equals no, that's not right. So I think actually just having this as something that we can select will be fine as it is. So there's a property, it can be selected, great. So if I go back to Unreal Engine and compile, see what that's complaining about. In the main character, it's missing a semicolon. I don't think it is. I think what it's missing is actually a reference to that. So if I go hash include actors and then river actor.h, that should be doing better now because it knows where that's coming from. We'll compile that again. It says river actor is not a member of main character, so that was the problem. It doesn't know what it is. There we go, gone. So now in our character, don't open that, because this is the blueprint. What we actually want to do is edit the instance. So if we click on that, maybe collapse all these categories, there's a custom one here, and now we can select the river actor here. Now this has access to the river actor spline. That's cool. So now in our code, we can say in our character, on the begin play, if the river actor has anything in it, then set this actor location to the river actor's get actor location. But I think it's actually this spline component, isn't it, that we wanted? And it's going to be get component location. In fact, no, it's not. It's going to be exactly what we did here, which was get the first, yeah, this one. Get the location at distance 0. That's what I care about. So if I go back to my character and actually plot that in above, then we've got our location along spline, distance along spline is 0, and then we put that in here and put our semicolon at the end. So now if we compile that, and press play, the boat spawned in the correct fashion there. So we've got a problem. It kind of fell down, and we don't want gravity on it. So what we'll do is remove gravity. So let's do that. If in the constructor, we'll go set enable gravity, or is it maybe set physics, enable physics. Okay, maybe it's the movement. Okay, so a character has, I think we discussed this a bit before, but a character, if we go through to that, it has a movement component. In fact, it's a character movement component. If I go and search for that character movement component, here it is. If I press F12, it's got quite a lot of juicy stuff about gravity and stuff. So if I go back to this and go get character movement, and this is a method, and then a pointer to that is missing because we need to actually include that file, I think. So if we now go into Google, this one here, and go look for U character movement component. Oh my god. U character movement component. Click one here. We're looking for an include. It's not this one. Let's go to this one. U character movement component. Go to the include. Get that bad boy in there. in the header file, just above the generated part there. Control KO again. Go back to my implementation here, and then hopefully I'll get a bit of type ahead this time. I'm diabetic, so I'm just going to do a blood test. 1 second. Feeling a little high. Not in a good way. Oh no, I'm perfect. 5.2. Great. Okay. Here it is. We've got the type ahead now, and I think what we can do is set, set enable. Is it enable? Oh, enable gravity or gravity. There you go. Gravity cell. That's not gonna set it actually. Set physics. How do you enable this or disable it? Disable gravity for character Unreal Engine C++. Can't remember how to do this. Gravity scale. Okay, well that's fine, I suppose. Gravity scale equals 0. So hopefully now it doesn't just drop through the air. So we're going to compile that code. I'm going to play. There it is. There it is. Good stuff. And there's our Koki nutties. I think also what we'll do is we'll go to the blueprint again, go to the viewport, and I think it probably makes a little bit of sense in this case to slide this back so that the front is the collision, right? So you can see our little collider there. If we compile and save, I think this makes a bit more sense. Okay, good. Now we just need the same code here on the coconuts for the boat. So we want it to move with it. Let's make it move left and right though first. So on our controller, I tell you what, one break. I need to go to the toilet. Okay, let me just double check this is still working because I just did something stupid with my headset. Okay. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. So we've got this in our controller. We've got this movement axis event that happens. So in this, what we can do is we can go and get our pawn. Our pawn is actually our player. This get pawn has a way of casting it up front to our character. So we'll go include our character at the top of this C++ file. It's not required in the header, so we'll put it in the C++ file. Include. Go and get our main character. It's going to be from characters main character.h. We can see that over here. You see public characters main character.h. This is the one we're including, and we're going to cast this get pawn. Let me just go through to F12. You can see it takes. Go to this one. It's got a little template. So when you call it, if you pass in a class, it'll actually cast to that class for you and return the output of it. So this is why I'm using this casting version, and it's a main character. Oh, is it? Let me go main character. Here it is. Copy that. Go back. Plug that in there. Close the little template thing, and then we want to store this in a variable. So it's going to be of type pointer, and we're going to call this the character equals. Good. Okay, I don't know why it's giving me errors. Oh, here we go. That's why. And then inside the character, we're going to go if character. So if we got a pointer back, then we're going to call a move function on that character. So we need to have a move function. So if we go to our move character, and we add a function, u function, category of custom, and we'll go void move, and then we'll give it a float axis value. And then we need to go and make that actually have an implementation. So we go to the Control KO to go to the CPP file, paste that in, double click and copy that one, remove the semicolon, give this some pubes, and what we'll do is we'll go set actor location, and we'll go and get actor location. We'll store this current actor location value, current actor location. We'll store that. And we're going to use, well, if we go back into our game, we can tell which axis we care about here. But really, we want to get the axis and rotation from our spline. So for starters, let's just use this. So it's the x-axis we care about. Let's just see it working, right? So we do, I don't know, x plus equal axis value. And then we'll just like I don't know, plus 100 to it or something, and then we'll paste this one in here. So this move function will now just shift. Let me just draw this. Where's my paint? Here's our boat. Here's the axis. This is the x-axis, and it will just add 100 or minus 100 depending on the axis value that comes in, which is either -1 or +1. So that's what we're doing there. Just for testing for now. So we've got all that saved. We go back to our controller, and now what is wrong with this still? It does not like that at all. If I do include characters main character.h, there it is. Okay, a main character, get a main character. So if character, then character move, and then we'll do axis value. The axis value comes from the movement axis event that we've bound to here. It gives you that -1 or +1, whatever you typed into that properties section, and we're going to pass that command down into our character, and our character, if we press F12, will do this shifting of the location. If we go and hit the compile button, show log, declaration of character hides a class member. Right, what that means is that in our controller, character is already a property on this object. I guess it's in the player controller somewhere if I go and search for it. Or maybe it's up in a controller. So search for that there. There it is, there's a property. So we can't use the name character. So if I go back into our main player controller implementation, we'll call this main character instead, which I think it isn't taken. So let's try that now. Compile. Awesome. Press play. Now if I press left and right keys, nothing's actually happening. Let's just put a breakpoint on this. This is on the controller, and then if we go to the character, we'll put a breakpoint on that as well. And let's press the left and right arrows. Nothing's happening. So why is that? Move access event. We had this working before, so something stinky's going on. I tell you what might have happened is maybe we go back to the project settings. We'll go to engine input. We'll just double check these. These are good, and that's still called movement. And we've bound to the movement event. And this code, oh, I see, right. We need to reattach to that process. So if we go attach process, Unreal, double click on it. Now we're debugging, and we can now see that the events aren't bound to this. So if we go compile, they're still not red, so it's still not joined up. Let's try it again. Not sure what's happening there. There we go. Now they're red. Now if we press play, what we're getting? Here we are. It's got into there. It's binding the event. Move axis is running, and we are moving at 0 at the moment, so we should be still. But if I press left and right arrows, so what if we go through to the move? Yeah, this should have been called when I press left and right button. It's not. Let's go back to our controller. Let's make sure. Yep, definitely there. So this is not firing that event actually. Movement axis event. Probably because the main character wasn't retrieved. And that might be because you need to define up here controller type, is it? Something like that. Player controller default. Let me just set character controller type. Unreal Engine. It's somewhere here. Maybe it's in the controller itself. Do we have to set default pawn, default controller, default player? Can't remember how to do this actually. Default player. Because I don't think this is actually attached at the moment to our to our controller. Ah, yes, that's right. So what we have to do is actually go to our main character, and then we need to go to input, auto receive input, and it's currently disabled. So what we'll do is we'll try and find that in C++ code. So we go to our character, auto receive input. Let's see what this takes. Automatically registers as to receive input from a player. Equals, see its type was a E auto receive input, so we'll do that. Colon colon player 0. Okay, that looks good. So we've put this in to basically make sure it's overridden this thing here. If we go and compile this code now, and then you can see this is now, if I press the default in there, that's now going to receive input. So now if I press play, still not getting anything. But let's see. Yeah, okay. And put a breakpoint in here somehow. So it's definitely getting there. I tell you what might have happened as well is that the boat that we've put in may have also got that default. So if you can actually do this. If you go show only modified values, it's not actually that. Or maybe it is actually nav movement. Maybe one of these is the. Nope. Okay. Let's go and show everything, and we go input auto receive input from player 0. That is there in that. Okay. I think as well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reposition this camera a bit. So you go to the camera, just pull up a little bit, pull it like that, rotate it a bit with E. Maybe a little bit better than that. Let's go like that. Rotate it a bit like that. Okay, that'll do. So we can actually see what's happening. Press play. It's not shifting. Great. Okay. Why else wouldn't it be moving? So what else it wouldn't be moving is because if I click on that, let's just see if the character was ever made. So if we go back to our game, press play. So we stop here. If we skip over this, skip over that. We got this is null. Okay. And this is being optimized away. And there's a nice one here. If you go, I think it's pragma optimize bracket off. I think it's that. Might even be a Z here actually. And then you can put at the bottom. It stops that optimization happening, so you'll actually be able to see the variables properly. So now if I go back in here, hit continue first, ignore, stop, compile. Hopefully we get to put a breakpoint on this properly. Hit play. Okay, so now we've got null, and if we step over, we have still got null. So it still doesn't know what the pawn is. So I really think we have to do set default pawn or something here. It's funny, I could have sworn that was that. Let's go. Oh, here it is, auto possess player. So here's another option in the main character that we'll need to set. So if we go back into our character here, and instead of just that, we'll have to go auto possess player equals, and let's see what this one takes. If we go F12 through to that, it takes an E auto receive input, and if we do that, that's got player 0 as well. So now we go back in, compile that code. And we can see now we can set that back to the default, compile, save, and I think we're good now. So it's now running our function. Great. Now you see I think it's flown off the screen here. So um, clearly we've got some issues, and the issue is we don't want to get the current character's position. We actually want to get the river actor's position and then set it to that. So if we paste this code in from this begin play where we set the original position, and what we can do is cut that into here, and we want to use this instead, we'll delete that, and we'll just set the x value of the locations, the spline's location instead, and then hopefully that won't set it to 0, which is not the right place, but it's now the spline's place. So if I go to compile, press play, great, now it's working. So that's cool. In fact, let me also now show about the camera. So we want the camera probably behind the boat. So if we instead now delete this camera and we go into our main character, what we can do is just add a camera here, and we can go to the viewport, and we can pull the camera up, pull it maybe backwards, and kind of angle it down a bit. And also, what I find quite helpful is if you click into the viewport, you can actually see what the camera can see. If you pin this now, and if you like rotate, you can actually kind of judge it a bit better. W and E to rotate, so W to kind of transform it like that. Yep, and then maybe just angle a bit more like that, maybe. Yeah, maybe a bit more out as well. Good. Okay. Compile, save. Now we have to be careful here because actually our camera needs to make sure it's going to follow the player, and I think the camera is a visual thing, so I'm happy to just set that camera equal to activation auto activate for player set player auto. I think it's one of these. Activate. Maybe it's already going to work. Can't remember. Oh, it already works. Okay, cool. Good. So now we're in control of that. And there's one more thing. Maybe we don't want to move the camera as well. So this is a really good point to learn about the kind of the dummy scene component, which might be a possibility here. Because at the moment we're moving the capsule, which because everything's relative underneath it, it's going to also move the camera. Or we could use like a camera manager, but I think it starts to get a little bit too complex. I think maybe I don't want to go too far into this yet, so we'll just keep the camera kind of rocking along with the boat for now, but just be aware that this is relative to the capture component, which we're moving left to right, so the camera's going to move with it. I suppose as a little adaptation, we could go and add a boom. Where's it? Spring arm, and we could add the camera to the spring arm. And then what we do is we give the spring arm a length, I think. Here is the spring arm. Here's the camera length, that red line. And if we go to the camera and then set all of our offsets back to 0 and rotations and stuff, and then we instead control the spring arm, so we give it a bit of length like that. And then maybe we rotate it like that. Once again, you can always view what's actually happening if you have a big enough screen. by clicking on the character, going to the details panel and finding that spring arm or that camera, and if you pin it, I think that should be adjusting the view. I think, but it's not actually though. Interestingly, maybe if it compile, you have to compile first. There you go. Maybe that's it's not working. Okay, that's weird. Fair enough. I could have sworn you could do that. That's a shame. Well, okay, we're just kind of judging it here for now. That's fine. Yeah, compile, save, fine. Let's try that. Oh yeah, a little bit far back there. See if we can improve that a bit. It's weird how you can't position that. I could have sworn you could do that. Could have sworn. It's very interesting to see that the point of the collision is yeah, sorry, the spring arm is you can do different collisions around rotations of the camera and stuff. If you just untick that. Oh, maybe that was it actually. Yeah, it was colliding with something, so it was offsetting it. So now we can actually see what's going on. Oh my god! And we can also delay. I think there's a enable camera lag, and then you can kind of lag the camera as you move the player. So now if I go and press play and I just go left and right, it's not immediately following. Anyway, that's the thing. So now that's done, we've got the things that we can pick up. What else do we need? We now want to have like like a scoreboard, I suppose. So in Blueprints, we'll right click and create a new folder, and we'll call it User Widgets. And what we're also going to do is create a new C++ class. We go Tools, New C++ class, All Classes, search for User Widget, click on that, click Next. Go to our folder structure, go into the public folder, and we'll create a new one called User Widgets. Select the folder, and then give this a nice name. We'll call this the. Oh, actually, no. My apologies. We're gonna create a HUD here. So let's cancel this out for a second, and we'll go Blueprints, New Folder, HUD. This is a heads-up display, not actual widget. So we're going to go to Tools, New C++ class, All Classes, and there's one called HUD. There it is. Click Next. Go to our folders. We're going to go and create a new one called HUD. Select the folder, and we'll call that the main player HUD. Main game HUD, I think actually makes sense. It'll open up Visual Studio 2019. We don't care. We're going to go to 2022, which will update when it's finished doing its thing. We can hit reload all, and we can go to our Visual Studio and go reload all, and we can stop debugging as well. It's not going to crash anything because we only attached to it. Cool. And now we should have our new HUD classes. And in the HUD, I don't think we need to do too much, but let's first glue this up to a blueprint. So we click on that, we right click, and we go blueprint class, and we go main HUD, I think we called it. Main HUD? Main HUD? What do we call it? Main game HUD. Main game. There it is. Select. We'll call this the HUD main game HUD. If you go into there, in our HUD, we can add user widgets. So let's go now add a user widget for the HUD. So now we go to our user widgets and we go create. There we go file. We go tools, new C++ class, all classes, user widget. Next, public user widgets. That's where our folder is going to be, and we'll call this the HUD user widget. Create that. And I'm just checking something. in some other code I've got here. Bear with me. I think we can put this on our controllers. Let's see. Maybe it's the player state. I can't remember where this goes actually. Okay, well, first things first, we've created the classes. It's all done, and we've also got a widget that we're going to make. So let's go and make the widget first. Let's go to our user widgets. We're going to right click and we're going to go blueprint. We're going to find our HUD that we just made, which is called it's called main. No, sorry, it's called HUD user widget. What do we call this? I can't even remember now. I'm going mad. HUD user widget. That's right. HUD user widget. Select BP underscore HUD user widget. If we go into here, we get a designer, which is kind of cool. And all we want to do is, I suppose, have a text box. Actually, let's just delete that. If you go to add a canvas first, or well, let's see, what can we have? Let's see, we're going to go panel. We'll do a canvas or grid. Yeah, let's do a canvas. Fine. And on that, we'll just drop a text. And really important here, you want to anchor this. We'll anchor this to oh, where's the? It's usually a nice little thing. Maybe it's the canvas panel. Where is it? It's changed a bit maybe. Oh, there it is. Okay, so you click on this little drop down when you've selected the text block, and then you can kind of lock it to the top right. So the origin is now relative to that, and now you can change the position relative to the top right, which is kind of cool. So let's just do something like that, I guess. And we'll call this variable. We'll give it a variable. We tick is variable, and we call this score. I don't know, whatever. Compile and save. Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for here is good. Okay, good. So now we've got our thing here. We need to kind of update that variable, but first we need to assign this user widget to the actual HUD. So if we first go to our main game HUD code, we make some public access variables here. I've basically in the HUD class that Unreal Engine gives you, there's this show HUD method that you can kind of override. So we're going to override that. I can show you, but it's F12. You go through and then you can find it, or you can look at documentation on the internet. The second one is what type of HUD do I want to be loading into this game HUD? And well, actually, it's going to be the one that we just made. So it's going to be, we're going to need a reference to our new user widgets folder, user widgets / and it will be HUD user widget, HUD user widget .h, and then this is going to be the in-game user widget class. We'll call this the HUD user widget class, and this will be the UHUD user widget. If I go through to my widget, that's what it's called there. And then so this is so we can get to choose which blueprint version of the HUD that we want to use. And then once we've once we've got the template, actually, yeah. Once we've got the template of what we want to use, then we can go and create the version of it and store it in a pointer. So now we just kind of move all this down here. Then we'll call this the widget rather than the widget class. This will make sense in a little while. Now if I go to my actual code, what you can do is Control KO to go through to the actual class area. I'm going to paste this in, but you just have to follow along. Is essentially I want to get my HUD class, which is this one. I go Control KO to the front end, and I change this over here. And that method that we called showHUD, which is overridden from Unreal Engine, we want our own implementation of it. We're going to call Unreal Engine's implementation, and we're going to say if a class has been set, so this one here, and if the HUD user widget is false, then we're going to create a new version of a widget using this type that we've defined here. And of course, the created widget will be of type the UHUD user widget. So this is a HUD class, and this is referring to the user widget class. If there is on this HUD, if there is a defined type of user widget, and the user widget has not already been created, then we go and create it. And then we ask, well, if that widget is already in the viewport, if it's not already in the viewport, then we go and put it in the viewport. Otherwise, we don't care. We don't need to do anything. Now, if we save that, and then we recompile our game, let's go check what we've got here. Show log. Unrecognized type UHUD. Well, that sounds about right. Main game HUD. We go back to that. I've done a typo. Main game HUD. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. There's W. Whoops. Try that again. Compile. Okay, all good. So now if I go through to my HUD and I double click on this, I can now set in my custom little, if I just go on up here and I go collapse all categories and I go to custom, I can actually set which type I want to use as my user widget, and that's going to be the blueprint version of my HUD. So I compile that and save that, close this down, and now in the world settings I can now say that my HUD class is going to be my well, that's not very clear. Let me just rename this. It should be BP underscore main game HUD. Sorry, that's a bit closer now. So if I now go to here and I select the blueprint version of it, save. The HUD gets launched automatically. The user widget gets loaded, and this is the one that's going to get loaded. And now if you hit press play, there it is up the top. And it's up the top because we showed it at the beginning. So if I go to my HUD class, Control KO, and go to the show HUD, which is a method that Unreal Engine has to override. If I press play, first of all I have to actually attach to the debugger, so reattach to process. Make sure that this glows red. It's not, so let me just recompile. Still not. Let's try again. Oh, I'm crashing at the moment, bear with me. There we go, it is red now, cool. So now if I go press play, here it is, it's running it, and it's saying, well, there is a class because you just chose one, and there's not a user widget, so let's go and create, step over up here, let's go and create that user widget. Okay, so now we've got a user widget. Is it in the viewport? No, it's not. So let's go and add it to the viewport. And that's how that works. Good, okay. Now we need to feed in some score, I guess. So let's have a player state. So if we right click, no, we go tools, we go new C++ class, and we go and find player state. There it is. Next, new folder, public, player states, select the folder, we'll call this the main player state, I guess. Why not? Good, that's now done. And I think we're just waiting for this to load for the other Visual Studio. Let me just close the door because my washing machine's going crazy or whatever it is. I've got this eco-silent washing machine. Yeah, sure. It's like so noisy. Okay, cool. Right, so now we've got our player state. What we want to do is add a few scoring variables, and I actually think by default the player state has scoring in it, so this might be a little bit easier than we think. But let me just double check everything's going well. Yeah, I think it is. If I go to the player states and then F12 into it, there it is, score. So it's already actually built in, and it's a float, which I think is reasonable. So let's use that. This member will be made private. Use get score or set score instead. So I think because we've now got the player state, let's go in here and create a blueprint version of it. So if we go right click on our blueprints folder, we'll call this player states. We'll add a new blueprint class, player state, and there's our new one, main player state. Select that, BP main player state. And what we'll do is we'll go to the world settings again, and we'll finally set the player state to the BP main player state. So I think it's everything glued up now really nicely. So let's go into here and see what we got to set. Not a lot in fairness. Not as much as I thought there would be. So what we want to do is, now that we're using the kind of official player state thing, we can actually use some built-in methods. So what we could do is say on the river pickup actor, if the actor was picked up, then set player or get player state. I think get player state, and it's actually not available here. What you have to do is go and get the current player. So I think you can do get world, and on that world there's going to be, let's just do this actually properly, uWorld pointer to world equals that, and then if there was a world, then go and get the character. So it's get character I think it's called get first player local, get first player controller, that's the one. This is not the greatest way of doing this, but it'll do for now. And this, I think you have to cast it yourself. So this returns a player controller. We'll call that the player controller. But then we can do a main player controller, which is our own custom version of it. Main player controller equals a cast version of this. And we're going to cast it to this type. And this type doesn't know what it is at the moment, so let's go and tell it include controllers main player controller.h. Main player controller.h comes from this one here. You see, go back again. So now that's all in place. This is still IntelliSensing up. Let's let it finish. Now we can say, first we should say if the player controller exists, and then we can do the next part. And then if the casting works, main player controller worked, then we can go and get the pawn, I think, or maybe it's even on here, main player controller, get player state or something. There it is, get player state, it's on the controller. So now we go and get the player state. What does this actually have? F12 to go into it. We can cast this, so great, let's do that. We're going to cast that to our special player state, which is found in here. So include player states / main player state. We're going to cast to that that. And then this will return that, so let's go and store that variable. So it's going to be a pointer. We'll call this the main player state equals that. And then on this main player state, we can set the score. But we need to know what our current score is, so we'll go and we'll store a current score is equal to the main player state's current score. And then we'll just, I don't know, we'll add 1 plus equal to 1. In fact, I think you could just do plus plus here actually, which will increase it by 1. I don't know, I can't remember. Let me just do that instead. It's a bit more definite there, and then we'll set the score there. There is a problem because if you click on one, this happens. We need to know that it's already been clicked. Otherwise, you'll be able to issue lots of clicks before the actor's destroyed. So what we'll do is we'll just add a new property. I did Control KO to go to the header, and we'll just copy this and paste this in here. And we'll say a boolean of has been picked up. And by default it will be false. So as it's picked up, it's OnClicked. We'll set this to true. True. And then no. So what we'll do is we'll go if has been picked up is false, then run all of this code. And then once it's run all the code, we want to set this to true at the end. And then, but if it's true next time, then there's no point running this again. So that's good. So let's go back into here and compile that. Ay. Getting there. Good. Now in our HUD, in the actual user widget of this, if I double click on that, there's an actual graph editor for these HUDs, and what you can do is, plug in functionality here using all the blueprint stuff. But also, if you go back to the designer and go to the text block, there's a way of binding. I have to remember how to do this now, but the text can be bound. So you can create a binding, and then this score will be updated based on what this is bound to. And what you can do is just go and get the game, get player state, player state maybe. Okay, fine. Get controller. Let's see what's here. Get player controller from index 0. Fine. Once again, not a great way of doing this, but this will absolutely do for now, and will do for all single player games actually. So yeah. Well, that depends if you have more controllers, but anyway, it's fine for now. And from this, we can cast it, and we're going to cast this to the main player controller. In fact, maybe we should do this in the event graph so it only happens once. So let's say on the construction of this whole thing, maybe there's even a begin play, I don't know. There's not. We paste this back in here. on the construction, go and cast our player controller, and then our player controller, we want to go and get the player state, get player state. This is now starting to feel a little bit logic-y, so I think what we won't do this here, we'll do this in the actual code. So if I go to my user widgets, header file, and I go and add a constructor to this, something like that, with a public. Getting a bit tired now. And if I then go and Control KO, set the constructor there, and then in here we'll go, well, in the constructor nothing's going to happen, so actually we need to find a begin play. So if we go through to the user widget, the Unreal Engine version, press F12 to do that. Let's see, what events do we have here? Post load, initialize. They're not very well documented, these ones, unfortunately. Maybe there is a begin play though. Let's try. So let's Google this as well. Begin play user widget event. C++. So this is saying native construct. Let's see what that actually does. Unreal Engine, C++ native construct. Okay, let's try that then. So it's saying that native construct is a good one to go for. Let's do that then. So on our widget, we will actually do an override of their construct like this. Getting a bit good at this now, aren't we? We remove the virtual, remove this because we don't need it anymore, and we'll remove that here. And instead, we're going to go and implement this native construct. And in this, we're going to go and get the world. Oh, actually, you know what? We've already done all the code, so let's do that. Copying over. Where did we do it? We did it in the pickup actor, I think. Yeah. So we copy all the pickup actor stuff. Don't want that. We want to get the world, and if the world is there, then we want to go and get the player controller, and if the player controller is there, we want to go and cast the player controller, and once it's cast, if it's still there, we want to go and get the player. No, that's it. So we then want to have a little handle onto the player state, right? So on the user widget now, we're going to have a property, blueprint, read, write. Well, actually, no, blueprint, read only, visible anywhere, category, custom. Because I don't think we want to be able to edit it, right? It's just going to be populated by internal code. This is one of the problems that we discussed in the last video, is that we could edit variables that we didn't want to. Well, this is actually the way to do it. You just set things to read only rather than read and write. And rather than edit anywhere, we do visible anywhere. Then we've got a pointer to this main player state, and we're going to go and update that. So what we could do actually is in here say, if this is false, then allow this to run. And here, rather than doing all this junk, we'll do equals this, like so. And now we just got to resolve all these missing parts. So include controllers, main player controller, and then we want to include player states, main player state .h, I think that's right. Yep. Think that's it. And what we could do is control, hold it down, K and then D, and it will just format it for us. And I think we're missing one squiggle here, one pube. And then finally we need to add that super construct, otherwise we muck everything up and the world implodes. Cool, so here we are. If the player state is false, then we go and get the world, we go and get the player controller, we do a bit of casting, and then we set the player state equal to that. Now if we go and compile that, I don't know if it's going to work actually, but I'm hoping it is. Compile that. Oh God, yeah, what we got missing here? Missing syntax, unexpected tokens, what else? Offset has a built-in meaning. Main player state is undeclared, so maybe we did actually miss main player state. It might be that, I mean, what are we doing here? Ah, I see, yes. We've included it here, but actually we need it at this point because it's referenced here, so that's what that was. If we go and compile that again. Because I included this player state file in the C++ file, but it's actually referenced here, so I had to move it up into this file instead. We've got another error, and it says native construct overloaded function differs only by return type from void. So it's saying that this native construct is probably not a void thing. Let's go see. Yes, here it is. We need to declare the return type, which we didn't, so that's that. Compile. Fingers crossed, we got it now. Cool. So hopefully all this is now irrelevant. If we compile this, we should see, also we should at least be able to access get player, get main player state. There it is. There's our custom variable, and hopefully we can get the score from here, and we can feed it in like that. Let's hope this all works. I don't know if the constructor will work actually, but compile, save. So this comes from this. There it is there. We could call this gobbledygook or gobbledygook, and then it'll appear as gobbledygook. We'll have to update that variable. And we're just getting all the values from the score, feeding into the return node of the bound text area. And if we go back to the designer, that was the text area there, and we remember we bound it to this function here. Let's give it a save, let's give it a play. So if I now click on that, there's one, there's two. Oh, okay, well we haven't quite done the code right there, but at least we're doing something. So if I now go to, let's see, the pickup actor. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so that's actually, oh, it is doing. Oh, it's because yeah, I think it's because the other one hasn't been destroyed yet, so we're still clicking on the original one, which is fine. And also there is a bug here. I suppose if we go into the actors pickup actor, we only want to activate this if so we can basically pull off of this actor was picked up, but also we could go into the pickup actor. And we could say we could we could actually give this a boolean. I'm not sure it's just worth doing it really. Is it worth doing it? Yeah, sure. Let's just do it. So if we go bool has been picked up, and a bool has been picked up, And then when we fire this, we can actually pass in has been picked up here. And you'll see what happens. We'll have to change some things. If you compile this, this will need to be changed. Oh, what we got? Cannot be defined as it was already defined in. Yeah, okay. So we just got we're interfering with some variables here, but let's do state of has been picked up. Let's do that instead. State of has been picked up. State of has been picked up. And then we pass in that variable. We check against that variable, but this gets mapped to this when this is called. Hopefully this will make sense in a second. If I go and compile this now. This error was about two variables being named the same, so I just changed them. Has been picked up hides class member. Interesting. Not sure I understand that one. So where is this? The river pickup actor 68. Line 68. Not sure I understand that. Has been picked up hides a class member. Oh, someone's ringing me. Ha! I'll have to hold off on that one, I think. What is happening here? So, has been picked up hides class member. If you go to our code, I'm not sure it does. Because we are actually assigning to this, right? We haven't got two of these. State of has been picked up. There it is. Has been picked up is this variable that we're passing in. So that's all good. Oh, how strange. I'm not sure I understand that. River actor was picked up. River actor was picked up. Again, another variable name. Passing that one in. If that one's false, I mean, I think it's to do with this, but I don't understand why. It is to do with that, but we are trying to assign that variable. Let's try that now. Oh, crashed it. Nice. Let's send and close. I'll tell you what we'll do is we're gonna start without debugging. So I went to debug and hit start without debugging and see what happens here. It does succeed. I thought I was trusting that right. How weird. Okay. Seems that there was an Unreal Engine bug there. Bit hard to navigate those things actually. Oh, here we go. So it's trying to restore something here, the game mode. Let's just skip that. I don't know if I really care. Good. Okay. Let's go back to this. So we go to our blueprints. We go to our user widget, and we were binding up that thing, weren't we? So we did that, and then we're in our actor, our pickup actor. We've now got an extra property, right? And so we can pass that through into our parent stuff, and then we can do a check on this as well. We can say, well, yeah, essentially we go if no, we do a branch on this. Branch is an if statement, right? Just move this along a little bit. We can say if this is false, then we're going to do this. Otherwise, don't bother with this anymore, essentially. Good. Press play. Now that should only fire off once now, or it will crash. Let's just see where we crashed. It says so this is important to note because actually our code is here. So we're running up the normal Unreal Engine stack, and then we get to our stuff, river picker actor thingy, and it's running the generated file, but then it's mapping it back. So we've got line 64 it crashed on. So let's see. So it crashed here. Let's send and restart. Let's try and engage with this a bit more. So we go open those up. So we're back into the river pickup actor, and we're passing state of has been picked up through, which should be fine. And if the state of that was false, then we can pass that through into this function, and then it's going to be true. Then we go and activate stuff. So it's going to be false first, which is fine. So then it goes and calls our function. We go and set it to true, but this is already going in and running, so that should be fine. Not sure why it was having a problem there. Let's see if it crashes again. So I think it is crashing. I tell you what, let's simplify this. Let's remove this. I don't think it's worth the struggle here at the moment. Let's just knock this out. We've got our protection here, and we'll just add a very static protection in our game. I'm not sure what's happening there, but I think it's maybe that's what that has been picked up thing was picking up on. I don't know. Maybe something I've misunderstood. So let's just compile this. This will all erase, and we'll just do a straight up if statement in our thing. So it does not take one argument. That's correct. It doesn't, and they're probably still passing one in here. So we'll go back in here. River pickup actor. We've removed all that. We've removed the extra parameter. We're just going to go back to the good old standard. We're going to go and compile our code. Now this is all erroring. That's correct. If we compile it, I think we can refresh nodes. There it is. Refresh the node. And what we can do instead is we can say get player. Get has been picked up. That's it. And if it has been picked up, don't do anything. Otherwise, do all this stuff. Compile, save, and I think we're good there. Oh, is it going to crash again? It's going to crash. How very strange. Access violation. Okay, so is it because read, write, edit anywhere has been picked up? Reactor was picked up. There it is. Has been picked up. Has been picked up equals true. No problemos. Oh, I'm not sure what's happening here, to be honest. I see. I know why. It's because I see. So the other stuff before was actually fine, but I think what we've got going here is that we're deleting the actor, and then we're issuing another event on that actor. if I were to delete this, for example, and then play it, I don't think it's gonna go wrong anymore. Oh, it is. Very interesting. Ooh, this is new. What I'll do is I will maybe put this after this, but I'm also interested to see if this error's now like this. So you see, with debugging, you just have to try a couple of things. It's still crashing, so it really doesn't like that. So let's read this properly now. It says none of our stuff has been run right until the end, and it's got the call to the implementation. It says on line 83, and there's an access violation. Line 83 in our river pickup actor is here. The current score it doesn't like, so I'm guessing this maybe is not happy days. So let's put a little check around that, and we should have done that anyway, right? So let's now try that. Oh, got a build error. Not sure I understand. Oh, it's because of this, I think. Cancel. I'm gonna compile this code because I think it might also be running with old code here. Let's see if we can now attach to the debugger. It's always a good way of of knowing if the code is being updated or not. Let's turn these lights on as well, so you can see me a bit better. Yeah, it hasn't attached to that yet. So let's re-press that button, and we'll wait for this one to go red, I guess. There it is. Okay, cool. Let's give that a try now. Press. Ah! So we have solved that problem. Okay. That was very strange, I have to say. So what is it about the player state that's not getting through is the question. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a pragma optimize off, and then we're going to turn it back on after this method. And hopefully we'll get a bit of a better eye on this. Here we go. So it's got null at the moment. If we step over, it's still got null. So the main player controller here does not have a player state. That could be because our world settings has been set back, and it has. That's what it was. Okay. So if we go and set this back to the world settings main player state, now it's running our actual code, and hopefully now, yeah, okay, and also hopefully that should now get into our code. Let's just replay this because I think, yeah, it does. It is great. So it's got the main player state. It's going to increase that score. You can only issue that once because it's locked off after that. So now we've got to get back to our blueprint. Why that's not showing is beyond me. That's because the HUD has been reset as well. So just watch out for those things. That's annoying, right? So we're going to go back to our user widgets. We're going to go to our user widget HUD there. Here's our graph. We're updating the score with that binding. If you remember, we're going to go to the pickup actor. And the pickup actor does it needs a little check here, so we'll do a branch, and then we'll go and get has been picked up, which is that variable that we set in the code. And if it hasn't been picked up, we run everything else. Otherwise, don't bother. Compile, save, run, play. And now we've got 1. We can't omit that again. That's a good sign, right? So now we've got to figure out why why that actor cannot be destroyed. So on finishing of this, we want to be able to destroy this actor, right? So what we should probably do is destroy it inside our code, okay? Well, which is a bit annoying because then we need the particle system in our code, because then we can track how long it's taking for that particle system to be emitted, and I don't think that's a good idea. So what we instead will do is we'll have a function that we can call into from our blueprint to denote that we're ready to go. So or instead of setting has been picked up inside our code, maybe actually setting has been picked up to true here is totally fine, because it's a visual element that should denote anyway. Yeah, so we're going to go and create a new method. Let's do that. So we'll go to our river pickup actor. Where is it? That one. And we'll have a U function. Just copy that one. And this will be a blueprint callable class. This is on our river pickup actor, and this function is going to be called has player has picked up pickup, maybe something like that. Pickup complete, like that, or signal that pickup action now complete. So we'll add a little comment here. Some visual effects may occur. We only want to delete this actor once all that has finished. Good, and we'll go and make this implementation. So we'll go back to the C++ class with Control KO. You know, we're getting bread and butter here now. We're into it. Add this here. Do a few squiggles. And here we can go destroy actor. And also only if this has been set to true. And then of course, we also want to check in here just to say on clicked, if this is being destroyed, is actor being destroyed, only if it's not being destroyed do we want to call everything else, because otherwise we muck stuff up. Let's just delete that crap. The destruction of an object takes a little while to happen, so that's why, you know, things can continue to happen on this actor. So we need to make sure we're not being destroyed, and also destroy. Okay. Yeah, we also want to only destroy this thing once we've finished like everything. So now this is done. This is called signal that pickup action now complete. So we go and compile our code again. I think this makes sense. It's nice to just be able to kind of think through these processes on the go, because it just goes to show you the kind of, you know, the kind of thinking, and it's not really that clever. It's just got to play around a bit. And if I go here and compile this, I can now call that class. There it is. Signal that pickup action is now complete, and I think we're done. Press play. If I click now, now I can issue those commands. If I just have the 3, and then there should be one more, and that's it. They're all gone. Great. So last but not least, it looks a bit crap. So what we want to do is just hide this whilst the Niagara is occurring. So on just before we activate that, we'll go static mesh and we'll go and hide set hidden in game. So now we won't have this remaining coconut visible. I mean, in fairness, setting it to hidden. Oh, sorry if you're experiencing issues here. It says you may be experiencing some issues. I don't know why, but let's try this anyway. So compile, save, and then let's do this again. And now, as soon as I click the object, the coconut should go. And it doesn't. God, one day we'll get this. New hidden tick. That's why. Let's try that again. I should be able to kind of bash through these now, so it should be boom, 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 boom. Oh no, still something's wrong. Oh no, it's not. Okay, good, fine. I suppose as well, maybe the collision box remains open and blocking, so maybe we also need to stop the blocking of the collision box. But anyway, it can go on forever basically. Welcome to coding. Essentially, you would do that in here. You would say, not only is it true, but we'll just do it. We'll go collision capsule. Where is it? Capsule component. That's the one. And we'd set collisions enable to false. Okay. Set enable visions to, what does it want? E-collision enabled no collision. So we just disable collisions on this actor whilst it's being deleted. That's fair enough. Compile. That's the thing, it's like, it is always easy to do these things, but also it's like, it takes time. So anyway, press play. Now, I should be able to like, yeah, just totally run through it, you see. Okay, good. So now we've got the pickup, we've got the widget doing it. I think the last thing we should do, we've got the movement as well. Last thing we should do is tie up the boat so it goes along with it. Which would just be, you know what? You know how to do that. It's basically the pickup actor is doing this. So on every tick, we increase the delta time. Exactly the same thing needs to be done inside the character. That's all it is. So you could do that. What we're going to do is a load level. So we'll save everything. We'll put this as a good stopping point for our git changes. So we go to git. We go to view git changes. Once you open that, I can pin this here. We're going to just check through these. So we've got some assets from the Blender, great. We've got some configuration changes. These are all basically, when we enable the execution of those Python things, and this is all the mappings of our A and D on the keyboard. Blueprint changes, great. The levels, the meshes, the particle effects, and then all of our source code changes. That all makes sense to me, so I'm going to press this one at the top here to submit everything. And we have added movement of boat, picking up of coconuts. They'll do. Commit staged. Cool. Okay. So yeah, let's do the last part, I guess. So let's create a new level. And this will be called the start screen level. And we go in here. Maybe we can, this is going to be a totally visual thing, right? So number one, let's make the user widget. In fact, we can create a new HUD. This could be the start screen HUD. So let's do that. So let's go Tools, New C++ class. Let's go find the HUD. There it is. Next, go and choose our folder HUD. Select that. Start screen HUD. Create. Let that do its thing. I don't know what is wrong with Windows 11. It is just so bad. I can't believe I can't have a clock on two screens. It's so strange. It's like, ah. Reload all. Great. So now we've got our reload all. Stop debugging. That's fine. So now we've got our new lovely HUD. Here it is. Well, we want a similar thing as we did with the user widget is a way of defining which blueprint to use, and then to store the instance of it. So we'll just copy these or paste these into the start screen version. Control KD to format this. What also we'll do is we'll actually comment those out for now. Control K C. We'll go back into here. We'll go Tools. We'll go New C++ class. We'll go find User Widget, which is under All Classes. User Widget, and we're going to call this the Start Screen HUD User Widget. And that's going to go into our user widgets here. Create that class. Good. Now we've got that. If we go back in here and reload, now we can make these enabled, and then we can add include our file. So we go user widgets / HUD start screen HUD user widget .h, and that's the type there. So it's going to be u that, just that, and then that with a class. Cool. And then we're going to go to the implementation of our main game HUD, and we'll just copy this over. Go back to our start screen one. We go KO. We'll plug that into there. And we go back to the HUD user widget, and we'll copy the the main game HUD.header, and we'll copy this show HUD override. So we go here and we'll paste that in as well. Go back to here. I actually think I pasted that in the wrong thing. My apologies. So I'm in the if I cut this out, just to start again. I go to my start screen HUD, and there's my show HUD. So if I go to the implementation file, now we're in the right place, right? And I want to copy this start screen HUD header. I want to go through to the CPP file, and I want to replace this here. And all of these bits need to be replaced now. So it's no longer HUD user widget class. It's going to be, that's Control KO to get back to the header. It's going to be this, and it's going to be this. And this one is going to be that, because that is the type of this widget here. Good. So now we've got our start screen HUD. Let's plug that in. Let's go and compile this. Now we need a game mode. So we go and create a new game mode. Game mode base. We'll call this start screen game mode base. No, game mode. Great. Cool. Now we're going to go and make a blueprint version of this. So we go to the game modes, we go blueprint class, start screen. You should have our new start screen game mode, bp_start screen game mode. There it is. We go and choose that in the world settings in our new level. So world settings, start screen game mode, it's the blueprint version. We don't have a default pawn, so none. We do have a HUD class. It's going to be our HUD class. So if you go to HUD, create blueprint, go start screen, and it's going to be the start screen HUD, bp_start screen HUD, and we can drag that into there. And the player controller, we need another player controller. So let's go into Tools, New C++, Player Controller, choose the controllers, Start Screen, Player Controller. Because we need all these kind of default things. We need a game mode because the level cannot work without a game mode. And we don't want to use the game mode that was for the main game. We want something just very trimmed down, just for the start screen. Then we want a controller because we want to register when a click event has happened on a menu item, or I don't know, maybe you want to have a way of controlling a character in the background whilst being able to select menu items. All those kind of things you just govern with another controller. And we need a HUD for this because this HUD is going to manage all user widgets that are related to a start menu. So like you press start or you go to settings and then your HUD might load up the settings user widget and all those kind of things. So this is what this kind of default action, the boilerplate, the bread and butter of Unreal Engine is to create these classes, I think, to get you ready to go. So let's go and create now our controller blueprint version. So this is going to be the start screen player controller, bp_start screen player controller, and we'll drag that one in here, and we're going to save. Right, let's get our scene looking a little bit sexy. So we'll go light, add in a directional light. We go to details panel, zero all out. Then we're going to have a sky sphere. Let's drag that one in, zero this all out. We're going to have a camera, drag that in, zero all out. And we're going to have a, I know, let's put in our mesh. Let's put in our lovely boat mesh. There it is, 0, 0, 0. And that's align these a little bit, so we'll pull the camera out, like so. Maybe we'll have a, a plane 0, 0, 0. Just make it a little bit bigger with a stretch. So if we go to this one, and then stretch it out. There it is. Now our little camera will be seeing that quite nicely. Pin that, and maybe we can move the water down a little bit like that. And then we could go to Content, Quixel Bridge. We'll look for water. Well, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go and create a new folder. Call it materials. And in here we'll go and create a material. And we'll call it matte water. And in here we'll drag off this and we'll make a vector parameter. And we'll call this color. Like that. you know what, we'll even call this not matte water, we'll call this instead matte solid color. And then we'll add a parameter, a scalar parameter, and we'll call this metallic. And then we'll add a emissive parameter, scalar parameter, and we'll call this emissive. Now what we can do is apply that, save that. We can right click on this. Maybe we should call a new folder called matte material instances without a space. We can right click on this, we go create a material instance, we drag it into this material instances folder, move here, we go in here, and then we can go and say that it's metallic for water, I guess, so it's reflective. Then color, and we can make it blue like that. We can make it slightly emissive if we want to kind of make it a bit glowy, maybe 0.01. And then we can drag that onto here. There we go, we've got some water. Cool. Yeah, unfortunately. It's pretty ugly. Maybe we'll give it a bit of a direction or something like that. Cool. Okay, maybe we'll, what you can do is you can actually you can change this to a local gizmo, and then we can kind of rotate it a little bit, like this kind of thing. Quite like that. And then you can go back to the world gizmo again. This is relative rotations to this object, and then if you go back to world gizmo, then it's relative to the world. So that's an interesting one to know. Save this. We've got our HUD already, and I think we even already made the blueprint HUD. Here it is. So if we go into here, now we can set the user widget, but we don't. Oh, we don't have one yet. So let's go to the user widgets. Close this down. Go and create one for that blueprint class. Let's call it start screen user widget. Select BP start screen HUD user widget, and in here we're going to add a canvas. Boom. And then we're going to add a button. No, we're not. We're going to add a grid widget, grid panel, sorry. In fact, what we want is actually a list panel. I think a list view. And we'll anchor this to the center, and then we'll position it. Yeah, alignment, position at 0, and then alignment, I think 0.5 and then 0.5, and that will be kind of centered totally in the middle then. There it is. And then if we put a button in here, basically just drag it into here. We want that button to be, oh, it's not list view then, sorry. What is it then? Lists. List view. Virtualized list that allows up to thousands of items to be displayed. That's interesting. I actually thought they could be. A widget can't have children. That's certainly not right. Important distinction to keep in mind here is item versus entry. The list itself is based on a list of n items, but only creates as many entry widgets as can fit on screen. That's not quite what I expected there. I'll tell you what, can't bother to solve it at the moment. Basically just whack your button in then and center that instead. something a bit weird there. Can't bother to solve it now. So we'll zero all of this out again. There's our lovely button. And this is going to be the start game button. We're going to make it a variable. And we'll give it some text as well. So let's go to text. We'll drag some text in. And we'll call this the start game, like that. And this button needs to be sized to content. The content being the text, right? Good, okay. And what we can do is we can bind the click event. If we click that, and we can load a level using that click event. But what we really want to do is have a function in our code to govern that loading of the level. So if we go to our user widget, start screen HUD user widget, and we go public, and then we'll have a U function. It's going to be blueprint callable in the category of custom. We're going to have this as the start, what was it called? Start game? I think we called it that. Start game, yeah. So we'll make a function called start game. And we'll give it the implementation. So we'll go Control KO, paste this in like that, give it some pubes, and then we're going to go and load a level. Now, the game mode, I think, is a great place to store where what the level name is called that we're going to load. So if we go to our start screen game mode, you see why this is so important to have. We can have a U property here, and we'll give this, we'll go blueprint read write edit anywhere category equals custom, and we'll make this a F name, I think it is, and this will be called the main level name. You'll see this now. If I now go, I have to look this up, I can't remember what it is. Open level C++ command. I think it's U gameplay statics. Yeah, that's the one. Here's the include file. So we go back to our HUD user widget. Include that. Nope, don't do it there. We put that in the C++ file because that's where it's used. Go back to our thing here, and I think it's just this. Open level, and this one, if we give it some time to compile itself. Just waiting on you, buddy. Here we go. It says world context object. Well, what we have to do is you go get world, we store that as a world pointer, and if there is a world, then this will be passed into it. And the next one was a level name, and hey presto, we have that on the game mode. So what we can do, I think it's on this as well, is you can go get game mode for this world. I think maybe it even has a, I don't think it does actually. No, it doesn't have a template, so we have to cast it ourselves, unfortunately. Sigh. But this returns a game mode base, so we'll do that. Game mode base, game mode equals that. If the game mode, then do this, and then we want to have our own game mode reference, so we need to cast this. So it's going to be start screen game mode. That means we've got to include this up here. Game modes start screen game mode dot h. That's going to be a start screen game mode. This is the type, so we're going to go back and that's going to be like that. That's going to be a pointer, so this is start screen game mode equals the casting of this. Cast this to that. And if this was successful, oh my god, I can't type now. Ooh. Then we want to open the level. And the level that we're going to open is going to be the start game mode level. What did we call it? Start game mode main level name. That's the one. Good. That's done. I think it needs one more thing. What is that? No, it doesn't. Cool. Good. So now we have a start game method that is callable in Blueprint. If we go and compile this now, and go to our graph and compile this, when we click that button, because we clicked on the button and we went to OnClicked event, we clicked that there, and then in here is our OnClicked event. Now we can go and run our play game, or what was it? Start game. There it is. No, it's not. That is not it at all. There it is. Start game. Cool. So now when you click on this button, it's going to run this code, which then goes and runs our C++ code and then changes the level. So now what we just need to do is to go to our game mode. Oh, yes, no, that's fine. That's fine. Phew. We can collapse all these. We can go to our custom. We can set this equal to, we go to our levels, main level. Compile and save. Press play. And we're going to crash. The crash was, it says, so nothing to do with us. And then it's got a start screen HUD. Start screen HUD.cpp failed at line 16. Start screen HUD failed at line 16. Right, let's just run that again. I can't quite see what that would have been. Oh, it's because we actually have a bad check here. This should all be inside. So because no, that's fine actually. So if the class is there and that's false, and if it's not in the viewport, then try and add it. But this also should be only if this is true. Do we care about doing this? And the same check needs to be done on this one as well, because that's going to crash as well. because otherwise, right, what's happening is, if this was empty, then this would fail. So that's what that was. So now if we go here and go and compile our code, it's quite long, isn't it, doing this? We need to go to our HUD, blueprints, HUD, start screen mode, and we need to define that the user widget that we want to use is the blueprint. Compile that, save that, press play. There it, oh, sorry, not quite. Go to the level, start screen, press play, and there's our start game. Oh, and a couple of things. The camera needs to be set in the details panel to be the auto activate thing. Auto activation for player 0. Save, press play, and we're in the game. And just to show that is that button. If I go to the user widgets, start screen, if I go to my graph and I toggle a breakpoint here, if I now click this button, it runs this code, and this is our start screen code here. So if I go and debug this, attach to the process, Unreal, double click, make sure this is red. It is. Now if we hit resume, oh well, let's try that again. Hit resume. Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's it's definitely running that. Let's just yeah, it's a bit confusing, isn't it, when things like that don't work. Let's stop this. Let's compile it again. It is running the code. I just don't know why it's not picking it up. Play. Oh, it's this one again. You have to select the one that's going to debug. Okay, right, cool. So now if I press start, it runs this, resume that, and then it runs my code, and it's going to get to this point, and it's going to see that our start game mode has this main level name. Okay, what it is, but it's compiled, it's optimized it away so we can't actually view it, and then it goes into our game and we're playing. You see, cool. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave this actually. I guess last thing maybe if we go tools, edit project settings, then the default map should probably now be, rather than the main level, the start screen level. File, save all, and then maybe one more thing I'll just do is the camera's a bit janky now, so if I go and edit my character blueprint I just clicked over here, and I go to my spring arm viewport, and then I can kind of rotate this around a bit. The spring arm, that is, which is this one here. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's do that. Play. So now we can see. Good. So then that's it. So what I'll do is I'll add this. I'll add a link to this project in GitHub, and you can use it as a good base boilerplate, blah blah blah, whatever it's called. You just keep adding and adding and adding basically until there's no more to add, and then you're done. Let's do one more commit just to save everything. So we've got this default engine, which was the start level that we're gonna the default level. That's what we changed. We've got the various blueprint changes, levels, materials we added, source code. Yeah, all looks good. Press that. Good boilerplate for a start screen and a spline pickup actor thing. Commit. Cool. And that is that. So I think I'm gonna bid you farewell, and I really hope that helps. I mean, if I go back to the start screen, just play this one more time. It's kind of cool. If you press F11, you'll get full screen. And if you press Alt P, it'll play the game. Start game. There it is. I can move left and right. You can make the boat follow the spline as well. You can have a separate spline. You could add physics to the boat. But essentially, you've got the core mechanics there. And to exit out of this, you press Escape, F11.